Subito. Ci siamo.
Come on,
Acaba.
serious suggestions, please.
Uno
I'm
dell'Accademia.
not trying to write a thriller here. It's supposed to be an essay, you understand? An essay. That means facts and logic.
Ok.
Well, if it's facts and logic you're after,
Sawada
you shot yourself in the foot with your
è
choice
più
of
giovane di
research
quello che
topic,
sembrava.
didn't you? The Tatara Suna mystery. When so much remains unexplained, there's little to be objective about. Unless, of course, you restrict yourself to textual criticism.
Ok.
Yeah, well, this is my teacher's area of research. I can't change that. But it's fascinating enough without having to sensationalize it, don't you think? The strange location, the missing details, a mysterious person. I want to write my essay on something interesting, and I'm interested in getting to the bottom of all this. That's the only reason I came to you.
Yes, you came to me. So all the more reason to take my advice. The fact is, it's the dramatization that will make people want to read it. There's no getting around that.
Ok.
Okay, but...
Did one of them just mention Tatarasuna?
Tatarasuna.
That's all the way in Inazuma.
No, Tatarasuna.
Is it just Paimon, or is it kind of unusual for someone in Sumeru to want to write a paper about that? Everyone here is just going about their business. Maybe it really is just Paimon. Guess people here are free to research pretty much anything.
Sarà comunque meglio avvicinarsi per ascoltare.
Great! Let's go find out what this Tatarasuna mystery is all about.
Il mistero di Tatarasuna. Inversione della Genesi. Quindi niente, andiamo ad origliare riguardo questo.
Alright, I guess I'll go with my textual criticism and your editorial direction for the first draft. I have a feeling that the missing Kabuki Mono will end up being the main focus of this paper.
Il Kabuki Mono, che ora mi sfugge cosa sia o cosa possa essere.
If only we knew where to find that traveler. From what they say about him, this seems like
lo
the kind of
volevi.
thing he'd know about.
Stavate cercando me? Se stavate cercando il viaggiatore, allora l'avete trovato.
Oh,
Per nulla importante, sai, quindi...
Hey, what's with that face?
Se non mi credi me ne posso anche andare.
No, of course I believe you.
Dio buono.
Actually, I first heard about your great exploits when I was still in Inazuma.
Ok, quindi lui viene da Inazuma.
This is my first time coming face to face
Proprio.
with you and your mysterious silver-haired companion. I couldn't believe my luck, and out of force of habit, I started, examining the evidence. Sorry.
Ok.
So what, for the love of... Sorry, we don't get out much, so our social skills are kind of lacking.
Vabbè, non è un problema.
Traveler, I hear you've helped many people a great deal and been to many places. Would you be able to tell us about Tatarasuna?
Che dire?
Actually, we don't know much about that place either. In fact,
A parte che non mi ricordo veramente una sega riguardo Tatarasuna.
I see.
Mi spiace di non potervi essere d'aiuto.
My teacher chose this area of research as a personal challenge. He said it's difficult to get into because even Inazumans don't know much about Tatarasuna's past. But who'd have thought that...
If you don't mind, I'd love to show you all my outline for the book I'm writing about Tatarasuna.
Tatarasuna.
Hold on, Sawada. Don't you think that's a bit of a deep dive for a first read?
In che senso?
Well, fair point. In that case, please ease yourselves in gently by taking a look at Akaba's latest essay draft.
Let me give you some background. This all started with the discovery of some records in Tatarasuna.
Tatarasuna.
The writings mentioned someone by the name of Mikoshi Nagamasa, who crafted a fine blade.
Va bene.
But in the end, he threw it into a fire to destroy it, and killed his servant Katsuragi. Why? Well, no one knows. Apart from the sword maker, his servant, and the one who wrote this all down, the records also mention a kabuki mono. This seems to be an Inazuman word for an
Lo
eccentric
spiegano almeno.
stranger.
Straniero
Someone who
eccentrico?
dresses funny or acts in an unusual way.
Chi mi viene in mente che ha un abbigliamento eccentrico? A parte un po' tutti, però...
That's right. Akaba's teacher has spent quite some time researching these events on the ground. This kabuki mono lived in Tatarasuna for a while before disappearing without a trace. And shortly afterwards, as Akaba mentioned, things got pretty ugly.
Quanto male?
So first this strange person goes missing, then a murder happens? Seems kind of fishy to Paimon.
Yes, my thoughts exactly.
Le doti investigative di Paimon ne lasciano sempre
everyone I could think of if they knew anything about
basiti.
what happened back then. And wow, did I get lucky?
La missione del vagabondo. Non lo so, se l'interludio comprende il vagabondo, allora sì.
Stop shouting!
Chiantala di urlare, perché?
This part's important. I just wanted to make it stand out.
Ok. La domanda è, mi dura altre 5 ore e mezzo nell'altra volta?
He looked into it for me, and I can now confirm that all the aforementioned individuals did, in fact, live in Inazuma over 400 years ago. Even back then, Tatarasuna was already at the center of Inazuma's smelting industry. The man in charge was a government official named Niwa. Curiously enough, it seems like he went missing too.
Che sia...
Wait, so there are two missing people in this story now?
Le persone scomparse in questa storia sono due, quindi una è vagabondo. Questo dura esattamente...
That's right.
Va bene.
Niwa is a name with a lot of history to it. Have you ever heard of the great swordsmith clans of Inazuma?
Ok.
Oh, the swordsmiths? Yeah, like Ishin art and so on?
C'ho da ricordarmi tutte le cose, cazzo.
Wow, yes. You really know your stuff. That makes things easier. So, basically, this Niwa was a distant relative of the Kaidahara clan, the last practitioners of Ishin art. Something then seems to have happened in the Kaidahara clan, leading to their downfall. I don't know the details, but taken in light of everything else going on around that time, it makes you wonder whether it's all connected somehow.
Me lo domando anch'io.
The Kaidahara clan?
Il clan Kaidahara... Ok.
Sawada, you left out the biggest detail of all.
Oh, yes, of course. How could I forget? Brace your minds, ladies and gents, for they are about to be blown. Or maybe you won't believe your ears.
Addirittura.
Of course, because in all my years as a writer, this is by far the most.
The most.
Get to the point, for Pete's sake.
According to information acquired by Akaba's teacher, the Kabuki Mono was not a human, but a puppet.
Una marionetta. Era Kermit il kabuki mono.
A puppet?
Che non è una marionetta, è un burattino, però vabbè, lasciamo perdere. Pinocchio, era Pinocchio, dai. La marionetta della Shogun creata dall'Archon di Electro dovrebbe comandare Inazuma al suo fianco proprio in questo momento. Non può trattarsi di lei. Il kabuki mono deve essere il menestrello, ma cosa ci faceva Tarasuna 4 secoli fa? Tatarasuna 4 secoli fa.
Judging by the looks on your faces, you do know something after all.
Forse. Getto un'occhiata a Paimon sperando che tenga la bocca chiusa, ma Paimon non capendo una mazza.
Paimon just meant, how creepy. The way you described it makes it sound like a ghost story.
Incredibile.
I agree, it does. But considering that non-human races in Inazuma are by no means uncommon, spooky events are to be expected. And that's exactly what my book is about. Please, take a look.
Allora, Sawada, autore, estratto primo. Un uomo arrivò a Tatarasuna attorno alle 3 del pomeriggio. Da lontano spiava i lavoratori che camminavano lungo le strade di montagna verso le fabbriche, le loro scarpe strascicate sulle pietre sporgenti. 3 anni dopo, più o meno. Sembravano certi che finché avessero no. Scritta malissimo sta parte. Sembravano certi che finché raggiunsero il fuoco furioso nella pancia della montagna, avrebbero potuto estrarvi delle gemme inestimabili. L'umore che ispirava la vista era ineffabile, al di là della mera descrizione di coloro che non erano presenti. L'uomo salutò festosamente e affrettò il passo per unirsi alla processione. Un personaggio imponente, che era più alto di lui di mezza testa, lo salutò colpendolo pesantemente sulla schiena. Tuttavia le sue parole denotarono molto rispetto. Sogno son destro, Miyazaki. Non posso credere che sia riuscito ad arrivare fin qui dalla città di Inazuma. Miyazaki sorrise come un giovanotto, l'espressione rilassata. Katsuragi, Inazuma è il regno dello Shogun onnipotente. Ah no, Katsuragi, Inazuma è il regno della Shogun onnipotente. Ok, ho navigato sulla nave più veloci, percorrendo le rotte marine più rapide. Quale pericolo avrei mai potuto affrontare e quali buone notizie mi porti? Qualcuna, direi. 2 scoprirono una risata fragorosa, facendo baruffa con gli altri. Quanto cazzo è lungo sto cazzo di testo? Fino alla fine del percorso. Un giovane con indosso una camicia di lino e una sciarpa osservava le fiamme danzanti della fornace davanti a lui. Un giovane con una sciarpa? Che ha quello lì tizio capelli verdi? Che c'ha il serpente? Le fiamme di una foggia sono diverse da tutte le altre perché la loro intensità influisce sull'intensità risultante da metallo e lama. Allo stesso modo l'osservatore della fiamma era un individuo insolito. Sulle sue dita era seduta una lucertola e il suo viso era illuminato da un sorriso. L'area di lavoro era enorme e la fornace era molto in profondità. Una persona ragionevole avrebbe pensato che ci sarebbero dovute essere molte persone oltre il guardiano. L'osservatorio si voltò solo quando Miyazaki entrò nella stanza. Questo osservatore era Niwa, l'ufficiale degli armamenti e amministratore di Tatarasuna. Nato nel clan di Niwa, uno dei 3 capisaldi dell'arte Shin, Niwa non aveva mai litigato con i suoi fratelli e si era rivelato un successore degno in tutti gli aspetti. L'incarico che gli hanno assegnato come risultato della sua reputazione parla da solo. Cambiando espressione, Miyazaki passò un biglietto a Niwa e disse: proprio come avevo previsto, signore. Gli anziani del suo clan non hanno un'opinione elevata del nostro piano, tuttavia credo ancora che valga la pena provare, pertanto ho trovato i fornitori adatti e i materiali richiesti. Niwa esaminò il testo e annuì: dovremmo provare alcune di queste nuove tecniche di forgiatura, che KDA sia d'accordo oppure no. Cazzo, vabbè, me lo leggo dentro di me, perché se no ci si fa notte. Inizialmente amareggiare, Niwa sorrise brillante di come procede la forgiatura della lama del tuo signore Katsuragi. Katsuragi non voleva disonorare il suo padrone né mentire ai suoi 2 amici, non riuscendo a portare a me la funzione replicò. Quindi, a parte che cazzo è questo Miyazaki, cioè quello dello studio Ghibli, che cazzo è? Il buon Miyazaki. Il giovane mise da parte il suo cibo e annuì con la testa, apprestandosi ad andarsene. Il giovane, dopo aver sentito queste parole, si sentì veramente perso. Serviti pure, dopo lo stesso pasto per tutti, disse Niwa. L'uomo annui e se ne andò pensieroso. Estratto 2. Il Kabukimono era sulla costa. Il sole tramontò inghiottito dall'oscurità. Il cielo fu oscurato da nubi temporalesche che intorbidirono l'aria con il presagio di un imminente temporale. L'oscurità calò sul mare e sulle nuvole scesero sulla terraferma. Risplendesse su una piccola. È finito perché una nuvola nera finalmente si liberò dal cielo e si iniziò. Una barca da pesca si avvicinò. Le luci della sua prua andavano e venivano sotto una pioggia. Sul tramonto i miei occhi sono già oscurati. C'è qualcuno in grado di portare la mia barca su mare sicuro. Porco il demonio. alla porta e gridò: Mio signore, è successo qualcosa alla fornace. Ho cercato il signore Niwa, ma di lui non v'è traccia. Molto tempo è trascorso da quando il signor Miyazaki è andato a chiedere aiuto, ma non abbiamo ricevuto alcuna sua missiva. Venga a vedere. Ostia. Non vorrei dirlo Katsuragi, ma il signor Miyazaki potrebbe non tornare più. Niente, abbiamo perso Miyazaki. Che situazione. Oltre 10 persone erano già morte. Per questo, ecco perché. Perché? Quanti estratti c'ha sto testo? Una marea. Va a finire che quando finiamo sto testo c'è già la nuova regione. No, quando finisco sto testo è finita la mappa di Genshin. È completa. Viaggiare da Tatarasuna a Inazuma non era mai stato un problema, eppure non si sapeva più che fine avesse fatto. Poi fu inviata una seconda nave, seguita da una terza e da una quarta, finché lo stesso Kabukimono non partì alla ricerca della salvezza, affrontando cieli minacciosi e sorti avverse. Era stato Katsuragi a portarlo indietro, trattandolo amorevolmente e soffrendo nel vederlo spartire. Fortissime. Allora, Nagamasa con due... Che cazzo è ora Nagamasa? Ah, ok. La gente iniziò a domandarsi se forse a Niwa fosse successo qualcosa e presto le preoccupazioni si tramutarono in sospetti. All'improvviso si palesò una sagoma. Attenzione, Nagamasa sfoderò la spada e tentò di colpirla, scalfendone solo la veste. Nagamasa rimase disorientato per un po'. L'intruso, come una marionetta tirata dai fili, si spostò rapidamente alle sue spalle, chiedendogli con una risata malefica: Sta cercando qualcuno, mio signore? Forse Niwa? Nagamasa rispose furioso: Osi rivolgerti a me direttamente al signor Niwa? La sagoma si dileguò come nebbia davanti alla sua lama, per poi rimaterializzarsi a distanza ma ancora visibile, un'apparizione davvero spaventosa. Sei stato tu a uccidere la mia gente? Nagamasa gridò partendo la carica, trattenuto solo dalla presa di Katsuragi. Sembra che questo lavoro sia rimasto incompleto, meno male è incompleto. È bellissimo. No, come anche la sua? No, ma ci credo. Breve analisi dei possibili eventi di rilevanza storica nell'area di Tatarasuna. Dettagli: questo testo appartiene a una serie di lavori patrocinati dal progetto Squarciavelo della Bahumana. Deve ancora essere trenumerato. Chi se ne frega. Autore Akaba, riassunto. L'area di Tatarasuna è sempre stata un caposaldo del settore metallurgico di Inazuma. Due incidenti sono verificati, i dettagli che circondano il primo sono per lo più sfuggenti. Credo tuttavia che possa esserci una storia nascosta dietro gli eventi che conosciamo, per questo il seguente articolo cercherà di analizzare cosa è probabilmente accaduto partendo dai dati disponibili. Glossario: area di Tatarasuna, Raiden Kogaden, Mikoshi Nagamasa, Kabukimono, Dio buono. Vabbè, questo è comunque più diviso, più scandito, mi sembra, spero. Introduzione: il presente articolo prosegue di espande il lavoro del mio... Vabbè, un sacco di cose... Allora, le tecniche dell'oggetto sono state mandate dall'Archon elettro, conosciuta anche come Shogun Raiden. Sebbene sulle arti ereditarie della loro Archon, tuttavia, voci strane che non si confanno completamente alla natura solita del metallo continuano a girare riguardo Tatarasuna, che non sia... Ma io posso farmi sti segoni per capire come cazzo la gente faceva le spade? Corpo, strani appunti dell'area di Tatarasa quello. Il contenuto dei seguenti, forse sto esagerando, ma credo che l'umore dell'illusione... Io avrei chiamato questa missione i testi infiniti. Una visual novel è diventato Genshin. L'ossessione di minare il disonore del mezzo starà divorando. Inoltre... Vabbè, supponiamo che il buon traveler, ovvero noi, abbia letto tutto quanto il testo, così, un po' in maniera suave. Ma lo faccio scorrere così, piano piano. Ho capito, però... I 7 biglietti citati in precedenza sono stati sparpagliati nell'area di Tatarasuna. 6 sembrano essere integri, sebbene abbiano un aspetto un po' vecchio, mentre l'ultimo appare più recente. Penso che i primi 6 biglietti siano di un periodo diverso dall'ultimo, sebbene la differenza in anni vada verificata. I contenuti dei primi 6 dovrebbero essere collegati fra di loro, dato che gli eventi citati sono coerenti. Leggi sto testo per noi. Sì, te la fai qualcosa. Una volta nei racconti presumibilmente nascosti di Tatarasuna, d'ora in avanti racconti nascosti, perché è importante, Rumi menzionò che giustamente devono anche modificare i nomi dei testi stessi, visto che non sono contenti in Genshin. Rumi menzionò che in passato alcuni ricercatori provenienti da Sumeru avevano condotto delle ricerche sulle storie culturali di Tatarasuna e di Inazuma. Sebbene il luogo sia caduto parzialmente in disgrazia dopo la stesura dei racconti nascosti, da quando ho scritto il mio primo articolo la situazione sembra migliorata. Bene, ci importa anche una ricca sega. La domanda sostanziale è: gran parte di questi dischi riguardava gli yokai, esseri caratteristici di Wano. Oh, una marionetta apparve una volta a Tatarasuna. Il suo viso era elegante, il suo abbigliamento impeccabile e il modo in cui era vestita nascose tutte le linee di giunzione del suo corpo. Quindi era una marionetta, ma nessun marionettista. La domanda è: chi era il marionettista? Il nome della marionetta era noto quasi a nessuno. Alcuni dichiararono di averla vista apparire attorno a Tatarasuna, sempre lei, incredibile. Allora, andiamo avanti così, tranquillamente. È stata compilata una lista di individui collegati a Tatarasuna sulla base dei documenti storici di Inazuma. Iniziando dagli amministratori, le informazioni sono le seguenti. Niwa. Oh, ufficiali degli armamenti. Niwa, il nome completo Niwa Hisahide. Era un ufficiale degli armamenti, erede dell'arte Ishin e successore del clan Niwa. La sua famiglia, insieme al clan Nakame e Kadeara, era nota con il nome di collettivo Ishin Sansaku. Vabbè, di come era caratterialmente ci importa una sega. Miyazaki, vice ufficiale degli armamenti, era un sacco simpatico, faceva un sacco ridere, era forte a bestia. Mikoshi no, in realtà Miyazaki era il comandante in seconda di Niwa. Mikoshi Nagasama era un ispettore, il discendente del clan Mikoshi, figlio adottivo del guerriero Oni Mikoshi Kyo e fratello minore acquisito di Mikoshi Mikihiro, conosciuto anche come Iwakura il successo. Poi io mi ci intrigo con questi cazzo di nomi. Devono chiamarsi Ugo, Beppe e Giampiero. Poi c'è Katsuragi subordinato. Il nome completo... Perché è partito l'audio alle cuffie? Il nome completo e il passato di Katsuragi rimangono ignoti. Nonostante tutti i materiali che ho costruito, devo ancora trovare delle informazioni personali su di lui, in quanto subordinato di Mikoshi. E poi c'è il Kabukimono, che è l'unica persona che effettivamente ci interessa. Nome completo ignoto, origini ignote, non si sa un cazzo, non si sa di questo Kabukimono. Se non che ci hanno scartato il cazzo finora con 12 righe di testa. Il Kabukimono era una figura di grazia e di gentilezza. Secondo i racconti nascosti fu riportato a Tatarasuna da Katsuragi e divenne un membro della comunità. Quando il Kabukimono arrivò a... Cioè, sta frase ha dell'incredibile comunque, eh? Quando il Kabukimono arrivato per la prima volta a Tatarasuna, il supervisore della localizzazione ha fatto veramente schifo al cazzo. Non sapeva niente di polizia, cucina o cose simili. I locali gli insegnarono con il tempo le loro abilità, mostrandogli come pulire il suo abbigliamento, ballare e forgiare piccoli ninnoli. Secondo i documenti era un sacco bello, sembra che...
Sawada was encouraging me to follow his more creative approach, but I think essays should be grounded in facts. I don't think explaining everything away with mysterious forces will cut it.
Yeah! Bello l'italiano di Genshin, vero? Ma in realtà è l'unico strafalcione grosso, però che ho trovato finora, dai. A parte adattamente a cazzo di alcuni nomi. It's incredible!
Wait, you're allowed to just make stuff up? Pretty sure you've gone from essay to guessay
Un
there.
romanzaccio. Un romanzaggio. Ma come cazzo dici, Paimon? Se sembra più un romanzo, questo tizio ha mai scritto un saggio prima?
Akaba, look. Your teacher has researched this extensively. I've reached out to everyone I could think of. Whatever information we have now is all that there is to know. This is as much detail as you're ever going to get.
Però non ti incazzassa, guarda.
Besides, if there really was a political power struggle going on at anything like the level you seem to be suggesting, what hope would we ever have of finding out the truth?
Che speranze avremmo noi di scoprire la verità? È un cazzo. Infatti spero che la missione non duri 1000 ore come l'altra.
Give me some time. I need to find a new angle on this.
Vai, Scisi.
We have some other stuff to do, so we'll have to say goodbye for now. Good luck with your essay.
Che se non sbaglio il vagabondo in questo momento è in coma, tipo.
If you find out any more info about all this,
Non ne poternosmi se avessi sniffato qualcosa.
so much.
Vai, Scisi.
Hey, so that thing they were talking about, it has to do with the balladeer, doesn't it?
Esatto.
Okay, then even if we did know something about it, we probably couldn't share it with them, huh? After all, we kicked his butt and got him locked up. Information about people like that is usually super confidential, isn't it? If you ask Paimon,
Meglio non parlarci più. Sono d'accordo.
there must be as many essay topics as there are trees in the forest. There's no point in...
Attenzione. Cosa hai visto, Paimon? Cosa hai visto?
Did you see that? He literally just went by, over there. It looked like... The balladeer! No, it can't have been. He got locked up. Oh, quick, let's catch up and see.
Tocca, via. Andiamo a vedere chi cazzo era quella figura somigliante al vagabondo, ma che il vagabondo non è. O forse sì. Noi pronti a combattere. So carico. So veramente carico. Allora, ma devo andare da Naida. Non ti pareva non c'entrasse lei.
Traveler, Paimon, there you are. Nahida!
There.
Bad news. We just saw the balladeer strolling around in public.
Ci morirono male. Mi sa, dipende.
It's him!
Sure enough.
Ah, qui è tornato Scaramouche. A caso.
Hey! What are you doing in the sanctuary of Surastana? Aren't you supposed to be locked up? I know you must have a lot of questions. Please, allow me to explain.
Narraci, Naida.
It was my idea to set the balladeer free. We made a deal, and he's gonna do some investigation in Irminsul for me. A deal? Huh. You sure you trust this guy?
Brava.
What did you expect? Why do you think Sumera would keep me around otherwise? Or maybe killing me is all you can think about. But if that's the case, why haven't you done it already?
Ma sai, qui bisogna capire,
It was... Nahida said there's still some mysteries in you to figure out.
Ah, so if it were up to you, you'd finish the job? Guess I had you all wrong. There I was thinking you were just getting cold feet.
Well, that escalated quickly. Not a good start. Could I ask you all to please calm down?
Ho capito, Naida, ha fatto un casino.
Paimon's worried about you, Nahida. Don't let him trick you.
It's not every day you see people questioning the God of Wisdom's judgment. Just when you think you've seen it all.
Fortissimo.
Don't you dare try to drive a wedge between us! As long as the terms are reasonable, I don't think there's a problem in making a deal. Even with the balladeer.
Well, I for one have no reason to doubt you, considering you even struck a deal with the doctor.
Naida Solvet sotto lavora per il KCB, cioè.
Yes, one in which I gained valuable information. You'll come to understand more about that in the fullness of time. The Balladeer's power was all but completely spent after your battle. He's no longer strong enough to be a strategic threat to us.
Ok.
Plus, he's a former harbinger with knowledge of many of the Fatui's sensitive secrets. Being stuck here in Sumeru could make him a sitting duck.
Ah, è quasi una vittima adesso il povero Scara.
Wait a second. Farmer? You mean he's not a harbinger anymore?
I take no pleasure in saying this, but it seems as if the doctor had no intention of welcoming back a loser, so...
Allora deve averti gettato via come spazzatura. Senti come infierisce sull'ego del vagabondo.
Sometimes it's you using them, other times it's them using you. Most human relationships are this way. Certainly all the stable ones are. That's how it was between me and the Fatui, and also between each of the harbingers.
Questa è la denuncia, comunque questa è una pesante denuncia sociale, eh?
So as long as you have some value to offer, nobody will ever abandon you. But after recent events, even I have to admit that I'm not worth quite what I used to be.
Cazzo, come mai?
Well, if the Fatui are gonna reevaluate my utility, I need to have a backup plan for myself.
As we discussed, I don't like causing harm to living beings, and you said you need protection. So, why not join forces with us?
I think these two have made their objection to that idea fairly clear, don't you? And they're your friends, so I guess you'll be siding with them.
Yeah, obviously! Nahida, don't listen to him!
In realtà il vero scozzo di tutto questo è Paimon contro Scara, però...
Then let's put that discussion to the side for now. We still have time.
Se lo dici te, Naida.
Where we go from here will depend on how well we manage to cooperate today.
All right, then I'll do what we agreed.
Comunque Scara, puoi lasciare a casa questo scaldabagno?
Good. Go now and keep in touch.
La tenda da doccia sembra.
Nahida, are you serious about this?
Yes.
Ah, vabbè.
I have my reasons for this decision. In fact, I'm largely doing it for your benefit.
Ah sì?
Yes. As I told you once before, there's information about your twin in Irminsul.
Sulla tua gemella.
Oh, yeah.
Il cappello sembra presente quei boiler che erano un tempo fatti tipo grossi disconi, mettevi l'acqua, questa scaldava e vaporizzava per scaldare. Sembra quello.
You may remember me mentioning that the Fatui had not included your twin's details in the Descender category. It's possible that the Fatui have other information that even I don't know about. And since the Balladeer used to be one of them, he'll be better acquainted with this information than I am.
Hai capito?
He was granted the power to connect with Irminsul when he almost became the god of a new era. Even though he no longer has the Gnosis, some traces of its power remain in him. He can still connect.
Cos'è che ti sembra quel cappello? Anzi, quel capello?
The amount of information in Irminsul is vast beyond description. Sifting through all of it without knowing what to look for would take too long, even for me.
Hai capito?
So I asked the Balladeer to search in Irminsul for any information about the Descenders. He's more familiar with this kind of information and should be able to find it more quickly.
I discendenti dell'Irminsul erano praticamente quelli che come il Traveler erano estranei al mondo di Genshin, qualcosa del genere era.
Exactly! Or what if... Paimon just doesn't trust him! He's treated us as enemies every time we've run into him!
E se ci menti gli puntiamo la pistola, il ferro gli si punta. Oppure gli lancio Paimon addosso, tipo arma contundente.
I understand. But Sometimes, everything is dictated by which side you're on. How things will go in the future depends on what information he brings back. And Traveler, I know what your heart desires most of all.
Hai capito?
Our minds have connected several times before. There is a corner of your heart reserved for an intense longing. A feeling of being all alone in the dark, searching for the one candle whose light still burns.
Ok.
As Sumeru's deity, it is my responsibility to be on guard against the balladeer. But as someone who counts you as a friend, I want to do something for you.
Dove fa
If
Naida?
this deal with the balladeer can give you the answers you've been longing to find, then it's worth it. It's
So
my
cazzi
pleasure,
tu, eh?
really. You're Sumeru's hero. You've more than earned it.
Ah.
Paimon's still worried about this idea. Is there anything we can do to help?
I was going to contact you about that, but then you suddenly showed up on your own accord. Seems like we have a telepathic connection. In fact, I was going to ask you to supervise the balladeer on my behalf while he carries out the task I assigned. Even though he only has a fraction of his full power left, that's still a fraction of a former harbinger. If you could accompany him, it would put my mind at ease. Of course, I'll be there to help guide you through Irminsul from the outside.
Capito.
Great, thank you. Prepare yourselves. I'm going to transport you into Irminsul.
Addirittura. Vai, si va. Bomba. L'importante, Naida, è che non ci fai leggere anche te papiri di roba.
Wow. It looks pretty
Ah, già
different
così...
from the last time.
Ok.
The colors are gentler.
Cala il sipario sull'uccello
Must be
notturno.
because
Parla
Sumeru's
con
at
il
peace now.
messaggero. Vieni... Scara.
Look at that. Hot on my heels.
Bello,
You
Dio
know,
buono.
you didn't have to cut your catch up short just to keep me company.
Naida mi ha mandato qui per farti da babysitter. Ma senti come...
Shut your beak, jailbird. No way a prisoner gets to be so smug.
Avanzo di galera.
I understand that prisoners have to put up with harassment from the guards. But right now, I'm on temporary release. So maybe you should think about backing off a little.
Vieni, faina.
Sounds like a successful rendezvous. I need to be quite clear about something. In a few moments, you'll be entering into the innermost region of Irminsul. It is an environment like no other, and the most important place in all of Sumeru. Unlike anywhere else, Irminsul's inner region consists exclusively of torrents of information. You must put aside your differences and be extremely careful as you navigate your way through.
Hai
I
capito?
know there are many grievances between you, on both sides, but it is essential that you remain calm after entry. This is as much for your own safety as anything else.
Ok.
Fine. Let's call it truce. But only until this mission's over.
Ok.
Let's cut each other a little slack, shall we? We are going to be traveling together after all. Per my agreement with Lesser Lord Kusanali, I'll be at the front. It's my job to lead the way and get rid of any obstacles in our path. All you have to do is keep your pretty eyes open and try not to fall behind.
You sure are confident. Paimon will give you that. You make it sound like you're even more experienced at adventuring than us.
If there are no further objections, I suggest we get going.
Andiamo.
Or did you need some time to mentally prepare yourselves?
Ew! Ugh, the snark on this guy. It's unbearable.
Orribile, orribile. Concentrati sul tuo incarico, Paimon, non fare cazzate.
We can start now.
Irminsul access granted. Initiating connection procedure.
Is this a small sapling? Oh, darn it! Come on, let's catch up with him.
Via, tocchiamo il magico albero. Anzi no, fa da solo.
So this is the inside of Irminsul.
È diverso da come lo immaginavo.
Ooh.
Belloccio!
Everyone's never seen anything like this. And it feels like a sacred place.
Irminsul is closely intertwined with the entirety of Teyvat. Every bit of information flowing here means something.
Ok.
Pick your jaws up off the floor. It's time to go.
Dove?
Why is it that Paimon just wants to do the opposite of everything he says?
Lesser Lord Kusanali, we will now proceed to the heart of Irminsul.
Però porta comunque rispetto, Escara, sua eccellenza minore Kusanale.
Can you still sense where the heart of Irminsul is?
Yes. Permission to begin searching for information there?
Permission granted. Go ahead.
Non lo sa manco dove vuole andare, secondo me. Però vuole andare.
Stay close. Don't go running off.
Hey, so say we did go running off in here. Well, what are you smirking at?
I was just imagining the look on your travel companion's face if you went and got lost. Anything's possible in here. You can't rule anything out.
Non si
So
può
if you want to
escludere
stay
niente.
safe, your best option is to stick close to me.
Va bene, tende da doccia. Via giù. Segui il minestrello. Datti una mossa, magari. È comparso un albero.
These sapling things have spread out.
Those are all packets of information from inside Irminsul. Be careful not to touch them.
Sono pacchetti di informazioni. So file zip in pratica. Che cazzo sono? Sono email.
It looks the same in every direction.
Questo spazio è davvero insolido, ma sembra che il menestrello ci sia abituato. Vedrai, in tutti i viaggioni si fa il menestrello.
No wonder he mentioned about getting lost.
Tremendo menestrello.
He's actually telling the truth.
Oh, oh, oh.
Is he mocking me again? What is it this time?
There's a time and a place to lie, but this definitely isn't it. So why don't you relax your guard a little?
Ah, tra l'altro l'albero è tipo piantato in una voragine.
What a huge tree!
Questo è il centro dell'Irminsul. Tutte le informazioni del mondo vi scorrono attraverso.
Lesser Lord Kusanali,
Good, you made it. Are you ready?
A fa cosa?
ready when you are.
Then please begin. Preparing to access cognitive currents. Establishing waypoint.
The Balladier's actually doing what Nahida tells him. Guess he must want to stay alive.
Non ha opposto resistenze, sembra abituato ad agire in prima linea, che in passato abbia svolto un lavoro simile per i fatui, o forse perché la cosa lo comoda e da questa situazione può trarre un enorme vantaggio. A livello di potere. Prima le storie di Akaba e Sawada, ora questo, che strano
The
individuo.
rest is up to you. If you discover anything at all, make sure to share it with us.
Dacci gioia, Scara.
Will do.
For once,
Mm.
we're the ones with nothing to do.
Traveler, Paimon, would you like to talk?
Lo sapevo. Tenete d'occhio Scara, sta facendo cazzate. Nahida sta comunicando telepaticamente.
Yes. I've also invited Paimon to join.
Ho invitato... Ah, ok. Vabbè. È un server di Discord, che cazzo è?
What the? We can talk to each other inside our heads?
Sembra che tu non voglia che disturbiamo il menestrello.
That's part of it. Plus, we're talking like this once in a while.
Paimon's never tried this before. This is great. So, Paimon's been wanting to ask you something. Don't you think the balladier's a bit of a walking contradiction? He's always talking back, but he seems to listen to what you say.
Sì, e sembra molto bravo a eseguire incarichi insoliti per gli altri.
As I've told you before, there are still some mysteries for him to resolve. Things that are clear as day to me, but that he has yet to understand.
Molto sospetto, Scara?
Perhaps today will be the day that he finds some answers.
Riguarda il passato, i tradimenti e gli eventi accaduti a Inazuma?
Well done. Smart and attentive as always.
Il migliore. Al dire il vero, quando ho incontrato Apache al Paradise Day ho scoperto qualcosa. Qualcosa.
So, you made contact with that part of his mind. Well, it's true. Betrayal turned the Balladeer into the person he is today.
Huh. Paimon thought nothing could get under that guy's skin. Turns out, he can get hurt and angry just like anyone else.
Everyone has a history, Paimon. Even if you're a puppet created by the Electro Archon.
Ok.
Speaking of puppets, we ran into two people at the Academia today talking about an essay. Turns out their topic was about the Tatarasuna incident.
Dacci Naida.
Do you know anything about that?
If you mean the mysterious events, the kabuki mono and so on, yes. I know about all of that.
Perfetto.
Really? Because from what they were saying, it sounded like lots of Tatarasuna's history is still unexplained. And most of the information we have now is just from people filling the gaps with their imagination. At least that's what they thought.
Parlano della storia che stanno scrivendo Akaba e Sawada.
Oh? How interesting. Those two managed to deduce quite a lot through guesswork alone.
Ok.
So the Gese got it right?
Well, they guessed right about one thing. Tatarasuna was sabotaged.
Must be a riveting conversation you three are having. Funny how all the good ones happen when I'm not involved.
In realtà Scara ha sempre sentito tutto, me lo sentivo.
What makes you think we're talking to each other?
Don't insult me. You're having a private conversation without me. Obviously, I must be the topic of said
Abbiamo il
conversation.
diritto di tenere confidenziale alcune informazioni.
Of course you do. You can't have your prisoner knowing too much.
So...
Ah no, ok.
Have you found anything yet?
Still looking. Don't get your hopes up, though. You and your twin come from outside this world. It wouldn't surprise me if there was nothing on either of you in Irminsul at all.
Non fate parte di questo mondo, non ci sarebbe da stupirsi se nemmeno l'Irminsul conteneva... Ok.
How did you know about that? Did Nahida tell you?
It's not like we've never met before. And anyway, you're world famous. It'd be more surprising if I didn't know a few things about
In
you.
effetti, boh, da una vita ci si porta dietro sti individuo.
Right now, we have to keep the peace. I'm not interested in creating more misery for myself. And making cordial conversation is something I can manage.
Ah, sì?
Huh? Wait.
This light. It looks similar to those saplings. What could it be?
Anonymous data.
Dati anonimi, attenzione. Un virus?
Hey, don't you forget the agreement. You have to share it with us.
Shh. Just wait.
Dio buono.
Mr. Niwa, are you certain this is worth the risk?
Oh.
We are talking about Tatarasuna's furnace, after all. It may not pay to act rashly.
There's no one else who can enter the furnace. It has to be me.
Is that so? Well, since you insist.
It's...
Niwa è colui che governava Tatarasuna, appartiene alla stirpe dell'Arti Shin. Beh, sta overreaction di Paimon mi sembra un po' esagerata, però...
I have been in Tatarasuna for some time now. You have shown me great hospitality, as has Mikoshi Nagamasa, and indeed, everyone else. Under your leadership, Tatarasuna is a warm, welcoming place, like a giant village. People are gainfully employed, their lives have purpose. They are motivated. As I understand, the Raiden Shogun has, in recent years, eliminated much of the evil that plagued Inazuma. As for Tatarasuna, it was originally established as a means of safely disposing crystal marrow.
Lo smaltimento del midollo cristallino.
The forging industry with crystal marrow as a raw material has since flourished, giving rise to generations of swordsmiths. Skills, blood, dreams. Every smith brought into this trade looks to find their purpose between steel and blade.
È Morgan.
That is why you accepted the proposal brought to you by myself and Akame.
È uguale a Morgan sto qui. Allora.
Yes, well, were it not for you coming to Inazuma and happening to make Akame's acquaintance, the two of you never would have joined forces. And he would be the first to admit that there's no way he could have revolutionized our forging process like this on his
Questo
own.
quindi suppongo sia
At
Bugo.
least not on the same timescale. You allowed Akame to take all the credit for a method that you jointly developed. He sold it to me, and now every piece of ore here is smelted using the new technique. Even now, you remain one of Tatarasuna's key consultants, working right here alongside us. I believe it is you, sir, who are truly responsible for the changes in our manufacturing and forging methods.
No, lui è il tizio Caglio Mario?
You flatter me. From the outset, I saw much that was commendable in the forging industry of Inazuma, and it has been my great honor to befriend you all.
So you say, Escher. But is this really the truth?
Ah no, il signor Escher. Ma da Escher non si esce.
What do you mean?
I tried to resist thinking it was all connected, because I didn't want to speculate, and I didn't want to believe that things could turn out this way.
Ma invece è andata proprio così.
What have we gained from adopting your new technology? Ominous black smoke? Mounting production problems? Worker fatigue and casualties are up and continuing to rise at an alarming rate. And recently, as you well know, someone died because of that strange filth inside the furnace. We've kept the truth from spreading outside, but still, I suspect you understand it better than I do. None of the people who went out to get help have come back. Now, our mutual friend, the Kabuki Mono, is taking the Golden Feather to Narukami Island to seek an audience with Shogun. This is our last hope. But that doesn't faze you, does it, Escher? Nothing does. Otherwise, why would you still be standing there with that smile on your face?
Uguale a Morgan.
I'm just surprised that you finally chose to be so sincere. I'm sure you've been harboring these suspicions for quite some time.
Mikoshi Nagamasa may have noticed that there was one common denominator among all these events. Namely you, Escher. But Mr. Mikoshi is more cautious than I. He does things by the book.
Questo è molto preoccupante.
After all, Nagamasa is the adopted son of Mikoshi Torichio, the yokai struck down by the Shogun's own hand. If he truly seeks to redeem his family's honor, an abundance of caution is well advised.
You're well informed on the subtleties of his situation for a mechanic all the way from Fontaine. Are you sure you're not a little overqualified?
Finalmente si inizia a capire un po' di Fontaine. Esperto di macchine, quindi sì, la speculazione steampunk di Fontaine sembra essere confermata.
Why, Mr. Niwa, are you suggesting I find a job as a diplomat? Sadly, I am so very attached to my craft.
Enough, Escher.
Cazzate!
I'm here because an evil force is raging inside the furnace. And someone needs to take your new device inside the high-risk zone so we can absorb it and put an end to the problem. I'm in charge here. And I'm about to take some responsibility and head inside. Probably to my death. But what about you?
What are you judging from the look in your eyes? You don't seem to trust me.
Esatto.
Drop the act. We're past that now. Whoever you are, it looks like your plan to destroy Tatara Suna has worked. I just want to know what you're still doing here. What's left? You
Aia!
have all your answers by now.
Tradimento? Così?
Honestly, I'm just waiting for the right moment.
Lo sapevo.
A moment like this, where you finish talking and I stop you from entering the furnace.
You...
Nulla, morto, via.
You're a little smarter than I initially gave you credit for. I thought I'd disguise myself exceptionally well, at least for the first few days. But it's a long journey from Inazuma to Fontaine, but that didn't stop them. Eventually, they managed to confirm that Escher was an alias, and that I was not from Fontaine at all.
Ok.
And yet, despite all of that, you still fail to realize my true identity, and what I seek in Tatara Suna.
Dacci ciò, dacci informazioni. Chi cazzo sei?
My plan?
My plan?
If you kill me, there's no one who can get inside the furnace. So you're really going to destroy this place?
Oh, but you're quite wrong. There is one other person. Some may not see him as a person, but you told him yourself. You're not a puppet. You're a human. You're just missing a heart.
Cos'è un Heartless di Kingdom Hearts?
Whoever you're working for won't get away with this. They'll be found out.
It's no trouble at all. Patience is a virtue which I have in abundance. This is all part of a carefully controlled experiment. If you must know, I'm happy to divulge my true identity. I'm a Fatui harbinger.
Oh, sempre lui, è tremendo, eh?
The Doctor.
The Doctor.
The Fatui? Who? What do you want?
Just to create a minor inconvenience for your nation.
That's it?
Hmm.
That's why you gave us your cursed technology? Just to let loose the evil energy from the crystal marrow?
Look how even the righteous soul is filled with venom when faced with its demise.
Tremendo Morgan, eh? Non pensavo fosse così stronzo.
Functions precisely as you say. It is the only chance you have of preventing a catastrophe and keeping the truth from the outside world. However, I did not make it with you in mind. It is easier for a person to be possessed by evil spirits when they are filled with hate. So give in to your fury. I want to see what happens when a malevolent heart is placed into an unsuspecting puppet. Make no mistake, even without you, that pure, innocent puppet would only end up being used by someone else instead. What other reason would a human have for befriending one who is not of our kind?
No, Niwa, cazzo.
If you give him my heart, tell him that both Nagamasa and I see him as one of us. He has nothing to prove to anyone. Because not everyone just wants to use other people. The only ones who think like that are people like you.
Chiamate il 118. 118!
What a beautiful way to see the world.
Anzi, ora il
It almost
112.
makes me feel a little guilty. Then out of respect for you, I shall redefine myself. Think of me as a monster or a demon, if you wish. At least this way your death is not a consequence of your own folly turning you into an easy target. You simply lost to something more powerful than you could ever hope to defeat. I say, Mr. Niwa, let's see what happens. Will your puppet friend become a human? No, that will prove quite impossible.
Impossible.
Mr. Niwa? Already dead. What a pity.
Tremendo. Eccolo.
Jester, I have completed the task you gave me, creating a gap and
Giullare?
infiltrating Inazuma's inner workings. What fun it was. I'd like to introduce a puppet to you. If he proves useful, let's make him our newest comrade. And if not, let's turn him to dust.
Eh sì. Dopo sta scena vagabondo devastato. Devastato cioè completamente annichilito.
Hey, are you alright?
Che poi noi già gli si era detto, guarda, che illuminare la gran testa di cazzo.
Dottore.
Perché la dottore?
Dottore.
Perché? Va bene. È incazzato ora, eh?
Good. Good.
Ma good è una sega.
Was that the doctor? Did he turn into a mechanic from Fontaine?
Sì, ma, ma fino a poco fa l'hanno chiamato Luminare, The Doctor, invece Dottore. Va bene. È lui responsabile dell'incidente di Tatarasuna.
But why did we see things from his perspective?
Esatto.
When I touched the doctor to confirm whether he'd eliminated all his segments, I read this memory in his mind. You have to admit, it must be the truth.
Maybe so, but it means nothing.
Ah no? Guarda come orgoglio, pur di non far trapelare che la sua importanza a livello proprio come elemento della squadra non sia importante, non l'ammette, eh?
He never meant for you to be the one to take the device into the furnace. You know very well what that means, even more so than I.
Questo tradimento era una menzogna a cui ha creduto per secoli, faceva parte dell'esperimento del luminare? Chi lo sa? Se il tradimento non è mai avvenuto, esisteva solo nella sua immaginazione, ma alla fine cosa gli ha portato? In che senso?
Let's give him some space. He looks really mad. Paimon doesn't want to be anywhere near him right now.
Come non vuole stargli vicino, ci credo, te. È una bomba orologeria. Sì. Però sa fa, si collega all'Iminsul e diventa la bestia assatanata di vendetta.
I'm still confused about the Tatarasuna incident. So, the doctor was behind it, but why has that gotten him so worked up?
Nobody has ever deceived you like that, Paimon. It's natural that you find it difficult to understand. Perhaps he needed to learn this someday.
Comunque Naida boia. Come ti distruggi emotivamente Naida, nessuno,
So now you have the complete picture. Katsuragi took the kabuki mono to live with the people of Tatarasuna. Later, the doctor showed up, disguised as a mechanic from Fontaine. And that's when the trouble began. It was all a horrific experiment planned by the doctor. Everything he did was just to plant seeds of disaster in Inazuma that would bear fruit in the future. Of all the unwitting participants in the doctor's experiment, the balladeer became the main test subject.
Ok.
After the events you just saw in that memory, the doctor put Niwa's heart into the device and handed it to the balladeer. Then he instructed him to enter the furnace and absorb all the filth caused by the smelting process.
Un vagabondo impazzire. Lo sospettavo.
The load was far beyond what he expected, but the balladeer survived. He left the furnace in sheer exhaustion and said to the mechanic, "This device seems to have protected me. What's in it?" The mechanic answered, "Niwa fled this place for fear of punishment, but he left you a gift. He said it's the one thing that you've been looking for." He took it straight from the chest of one of his innocent servants.
Hai capito?
The mechanic removed the withered heart from the device as he spoke.
Il cuore avvizzito.
The balladeer was stunned that such unthinkable cruelty had brought him the thing he'd been longing for his entire life. A heart acquired through cold-blooded murder is a cursed thing, but it has protected him from the filth. He thought Niwa had completely betrayed him, and yet this very betrayal had ensured his survival. Overwhelmed with anger and sorrow, the balladeer threw the heart to the ground and left Tatarasuna without looking back.
Ok.
Holy moly. So the doctor killed an innocent man and pinned everything on the victim? That's terrible.
Porca pupazza poi, Venire traditi e abbandonati da una persona cara a causa sicuramente dell'astio. Ora conoscevo il motivo della sua decisione di vendicarsi contro la Raiden Kogaden secoli fa. Ma questo non giustifica la sua vendetta. Ma per ora è solamente un attimo irrequieto. Io lo lascio lì. Io lo lascio lì.
Niwa didn't run from justice. You killed him.
Facciamo così, io lo lascio lì un attimo, così. Allora, manco mi muovo. Anzi, vado via, guarda. Stai lì, ragiona e niente. Ovviamente, poco più tardi.
Shall we see how he's doing?
Però se ci parli te, Paimon si incazza dell'altro. Poi mi ci parla a me, magari.
Hey.
Eccoci.
You alright? That's a scary expression.
Are you worried about me? If we didn't have such a history, I'd almost think that qualifies me to be your
Vogliamo
friend.
solo assicurarci che non abbia conseguenze sul nostro piano.
It won't. I'll keep my end of the deal.
Dio buono.
Hey, are you investigating the stuff we want to know about?
No.
That's why we're here. But unfortunately, there's no information about the Descenders in Irminsul.
Ok.
Even if you can't find anything, that seems to confirm it. Irminsul does not keep records on the Descenders. Anyone who comes from beyond
Quindi avevo detto
this
bene, i
world
discendenti
is not
sono
counted as
come
part of
noi,
diventare.
figure estranee a tutto il mondo di Heibat.
Oh, does that mean we have to leave empty-handed?
No, 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 ora un attimo ci pensa Scara. Come pensavo, ma grazie lo
Don't
stesso.
thank me just yet.
Eccoci.
You look really upset. Well, since Irminsul was a dead end, I guess I can share some other info that might interest you.
Narrami.
Huh? About what?
The reason why there are records about your sister in Irminsul. It might have something to do with Conria. Apparently, Conria was her first destination when she arrived in this world. Plus, she only came to this world because the heavens responded to the summoning.
The heavens responded?
The jester told me this himself. You
Il
can take his word on
giullare.
this.
Devo ancora capire chi è
He
questo
was a royal
giullare. Se
mage
sei
in
già visto,
Conria
magari.
and lived with your sister for a time.
Il giullare, un altro dei messaggeri dei fatui.
I don't know the details. It's up to you whether you want to believe me. All I can say is, I wouldn't lie to you about this. Did you get all that, Lesser Lord Kusanali?
Non è fantastico?
Yes. Astonishing news.
Does this info count towards my mission? It wasn't from Irminsul, but was it valuable?
Very valuable.
Attenzione.
Good. In that case, I'll take some time for myself now.
Eccoci. Tra un'ora per... Sì, si può riassumere esattamente in questa maniera il messaggio di quelli di Genshin.
Lesser Lord Kusanali was right. My power's all but completely spent. Even if I use all of the divine power left in me.
In che
I can't sustain
senso?
this shield for very long. I shared a secret with you, and now you owe me. So in return, I'd like you to answer a question for me.
Cosa vuoi sapere, Scara? Narrami.
Give me your hand.
No. C'è il Covid, ma...
Can you hear my voice inside your head?
Forse. Vuoi farmi il lavaggio del cervello?
No, I can't do anything like that anymore. At most, all I can do is exchange a few words with you.
Ma in teoria Naida può leggere comunque i loro menti. A meno che lo scudo non serva per isolarli da Naida stessa.
So tell me, in this world, is it possible to change the past?
Beh, se lo scopri dimmelo. Aspetta un momento, perché me lo chiedi?
Done.
Fatto.
What the? What happened? Paimon only saw you hold hands for a second.
Nothing. I was just thanking him for helping me.
Aspetta un secondo, la sua espressione avrà capito che stavo esitando, ma era perché so di sua eccellenza maggiore Rucca Devata. O no che avergli risposto indirettamente. Hai fatto casino. Hai fatto casino. Addio, hai fatto casino.
Where are you going? Hey, wait up! Didn't you say not to go running off?
Menestrello, fermati!
Fast reaction time. But I don't think we'll be seeing each other again.
Dici, eh? E se ne va.
From this day forth, the names Balladeer and Kabukimono will cease to exist.
Ok.
Those who died in Tatarasuna because of me deserve another chance at life.
Strano però, perché sembra che abbia veramente voglia di rivalersi su tutto quello che è successo, ma in maniera positiva.
Hey, Balladeer!
Per ora.
Don't do anything stupid!
Aspetta a vedere cosa diventa adesso, eh?
You know, I never did like insects. Hordes of the puny things swarming together can be a real nuisance. And I enjoy nothing more than to stamp them out like the pests they are. But if a colony of harmless ants isn't threatening anyone, I guess they deserve to be left alone. Luckily, everything can be set right. It's time to solve this once and for all.
Meno male.
Balladeer! Balladeer!
Dove cazzo vai, menestrello?
Oh, he disappeared. Come on, we gotta find him somehow.
Sì, dove si va, Paimon? Cioè, c'è un albero in mezzo a nulla. Addirittura. Momento cutscene.
Oh no, he's really gone.
Oh, can you hear me?
Forse.
Nihida!
Traveler, Paimon, Balladeer, what happened just now? I was suddenly cut off by some kind of power.
Te l'ho detto, la barriera di Scara serviva a isolargli.
He shut you out.
I didn't think he'd be capable of something like that with so little power left.
Fortissimo, Scara, via.
Did he keep some of his power hidden when he was defeated? Or did he achieve something beyond his abilities, and it took everything he had?
Where the heck did he go?
Il limite del Super
All our
Saiyan.
fault. We were supposed to keep an eye on him.
Cazzo.
It's not your fault. Please, let me handle this from here, even though I'm not sure I can solve it. We're running out of time. Follow my lead and get out of Irminsul as soon as possible.
Ok, quindi siamo usciti per ore inermi. Quindi all'effettivo Scara dove cazzo è finito?
We're out! And we're at, an inn or something?
Ma in teoria se noi entriamo dentro nell'albero lo troviamo dentro l'albero Scaramouche.
This is an emergency.
In teoria.
I'll have to ask you to stay here for now. Everything's arranged and nobody will disturb you.
No, voglio aiutarti, Naida. Più che altro dimmi dove cazzo sono e perché.
I'm sorry, but this isn't something I need your help with. Leave this one to me.
Sì, ma dimmi dove sono.
An emergency? How bad is it? Naida, will you be okay?
Don't worry. If my assessment is correct, though there may be some minor disturbances, it won't lead to a disaster. Please rest and recover your strength here until I say it's safe.
Her voice has gone. Paimon can't shake the feeling that something really big has happened. What do you think the balladeer meant? And why did he suddenly grab onto you before?
Paimon non si ricorda di Sua Eccellenza Maggiore Rucca Devata. La domanda posta dal menestrello era strana. È difficile da spiegare e la verità potrebbe turbare Paimon. Ti devo dire dove sei nella canale di Sumelo. Grazie Perafi, lì c'ero arrivata anch'io. Salterò la parte di Sua Eccellenza Maggiore Rucca Devata e dirò a Paimon solo del menestrello.
He wants to change the past? But surely that's impossible!
Sommina.
Right! You can't just rewrite history. All that stuff happened already in real life! It's like, imagine Paimon drank all the water in this inn. Even if no one was there to see it, Paimon would sure as heck remember drinking it.
Senti, che su dov'eri? Ho capito, ma non intendevo proprio in senso letterale, proprio... Ok.
So, why does Paimon still have a bad feeling about this? Paimon can't help but feel scared about what he might do. Paimon's so confused.
Forse vuole cancellarsi dalla storia addirittura, oppure crearsi una nuova identità. Però Paimon, cazzo.
Sorry, Paimon accidentally... It's the balladeer's fault for causing Paimon all this mental stress.
Non sa che da fare se sai già la risposta, ma intendevo in quale dimensione sono. Soprattutto perché sono in questa locanda.
But erasing yourself from history? It's unthinkable. Is that really possible in Irminsul?
È impensabile, può farlo nel me. Non è una certezza, ma chissà.
Uh-oh. Paimon's head is overheating from trying to understand what he's up to. And it's still not working.
Hai capito?
Paimon's had it with that little brat. He's been nothing but trouble ever since we met him. There's no way he'll actually succeed, right? Otherwise, won't everyone who's connected to him be affected too?
Certamente, se il menestrello si cancellasse dall'Irminsul, il fatto si ritorcerebbe contro molta gente di Inazuma. Preferisco non pensarci. Che palle però che fa venire il gioco. Capito che tra un po' chiudono i server. Nella peggiore delle ipotesi, tutti quelli con un legame con la Raiden Kogaden, tra cui Kazuhaya, Kaeyato, ne subirebbero degli effetti scomparendo.
There's nothing we can do about it at this point. Hey, have you got any ideas on what we should do next?
Forse.
Seems like now there's nothing left for us to do but to go to sleep. But Paimon's still so
Ma cosa vuol dire leccare vari piatti?
Paimon's probably gonna collapse of anxiety here. All right, Paimon will start. First dish. Munstack grilled fish. Oh, and chicken mushroom skewers. Tea break pancakes. Cream stew. Sauteed matsutake. And Dragon chili chicken. Almond tofu. Satisfying salad.
Okay.
Also, Adeptus Temptation, golden shrimp balls, triple layered consomme, lotus seed and bird egg soup, and...
È in crisi. In crisi.
What do we...
Ma tra l'altro, cioè, dorme volando Paimon.
supposed to be doing just now? Paimon was, talking? Huh. Paimon suddenly can't remember what she was talking about. What was it again?
Ti sei messa a linkare vari cibi e... Eccomi qua, signor giudice.
Is that a food too? Huh. Weird name though.
Paimon si è scordata del menestrello, quindi significa che è riuscito nel suo intento. Però noi in quanto esterni al mondo siamo spettatori, quindi gli effetti temporali non hanno alcun effetto su di noi. Come avrà fatto non ha senso.
What's wrong? Your eyes are like saucers. Was it something Paimon said?
No, no, sta a posto.
So, the balladeer. Is that someone's name? 'Cause it sounds like a nickname or something.
Se questo sta davvero succedendo, devo sapere cos'altro è cambiato. Andiamo, Paimon.
Okay, sure. Where
È in Azuma, presente.
Fine by Paimon, but is everything okay? You're acting like this is an emergency.
No, e mancano le puppe di Raiden, quindi se si va magari si fa un favore. Quindi andiamo, dove devono andare? Andiamo dal fabbro di Inazuma a capire delle cose. Dov'è? Eccoci.
We've made it to Amenoma Smithy.
Fucina Menoma.
Ah, it's been a while.
Chiedo scusa, vorrei chiedere una cosa se posso. Potete leggere testi infiniti? No, come testi infiniti? Ah già, perché le testimonianze di Wakanda lì, come si chiama, e cosa sono cambiati, Dio di Dio.
Of course. Go ahead.
La Raiden Kogaden, per esempio.
No. Now there's a question I wasn't expecting. Very well. I'll tell you what I know once more.
Narrami.
The once renowned Raiden Gokuden, comprised of 5 branches. Amenoma, Futsu, Ishin, Hyakume, and Senju. The art of forging practiced by these 5 clans was first taught to them personally by the almighty Shogun. Over time, the 5 branches diverged from one another as generations of bladesmiths honed and perfected their craft until they became 5 distinct traditions. Most of the great swordsmith clans of old have since fallen into decline, and for a long time, only the Amenoma branch kept its art alive.
Ok.
Unfortunately, Kaedehara Kazuha recently returned to Inazuma
Kaedehara Kazuya è
and took up the
tornato.
mantle of the Ishin art. Now, 2 clans remain of the original Gokuden 5.
Kaedehara Kazuya è tornato, ma probabilmente potrebbe essere il menestrello.
If my memory serves me right, you yourself were present when he forged the Ishin blade.
Ah sì?
Oh yeah, we were! Paimon remembers that now. We learned a bit about the decline of the Raiden Gokuden then too.
Ma come è potuto succedere?
That, my friends, is a tragic tale indeed. In fact, this was not made known to me for most of my life. All these years, I knew of those great clans' demise, but never the cause. Only recently, when the question was on my mind, did I ask Kaedehara Kazuha about this.
Ok.
He told me that, as we are both heirs to a branch of the Raiden Gokuden, it was right that I should know the truth. There is no harm in telling you, but I must warn you.
È una storia molto
It is a
lontana
dark
nel tempo.
and sorrowful tale. The Raiden Gokuden were the targets of a murderous rampage by a vengeful bladesmith.
Ok.
Vengeful? Why?
400 years ago, so I'm told, there was a catastrophic malfunction in Tatarasuna's furnace. One brave swordsmith heard the commotion and chose not to flee, but he rushed to the scene, hoping to prevent a disaster.
Ok.
Tatarasuna was home to a state-of-the-art forging and smelting operation in that day, and overseeing it was the armory officer. His surname was Niwa, though he had family ties to the Kaedehara clan. Knowing that they had just one chance to save countless lives, Mr. Niwa and the swordsmith leaped together into the furnace. The furnace quickly stabilized, but neither of them made it out.
Tonfa.
The smith's death, though heroic, dealt a devastating blow to his family's fortunes. His orphaned son was left to fend for himself, and grew up deeply resentful at the war. In his heart, the whole of Inazuma was culpable in his tragedy. He hated the almighty shogun for her apparent indifference towards his father's death, and he hated everyone who had done nothing to try and save him.
E versò tutti quelli. In che senso versò? Ah no, è verso. Affanculo, ci ho letto un accento.
The only legacy he had to pass on to his children was his hatred. Generation after generation bore this grudge, living in utter misery. Alas, if only the story could have ended there. But 100 years ago, the then head of this family reached the end of his wits. He could bear their fate no longer, and yet he could do nothing to change it. Finally, he made a drastic decision to take revenge on the Raiden Gokuden. In doing so, he sought to vent his pent anger and shake the very foundations of Inazuma's forging industry. In his fury, he murdered indiscriminately, killing even bladesmiths from the Hyakume clan which he belonged to. His goal was absolute, the devastation of all of the Raiden Gokuden. But when he came to the Kaedehara and Kamisato clans, his killing spree came to an abrupt end. He failed to catch them unawares. They fought back fiercely, and they did not spare his life. That is why the Kaedehara clan and their Ishin art survived that day. I suppose they were the lucky ones, under the dire circumstances.
La leggenda della Raiden Kogaden è cambiata. Qualcun altro ha attaccato i fabbri. Gioco, ho capito, mi mette ansia. Sembra che il menestrello abbia combinato qualcosa nell'Irminsul, ma sembra che Niwa sia morto comunque. Hai visto Katsuha ultimamente?
Kazuha? Why, yes. Just yesterday, in fact. We spoke for a while over some tea.
Bene, ancora vivo ed è il solito Kazuha di sempre. Sembra che la situazione non sia così brutta come temevo ieri sera.
My pleasure.
Don't tell Paimon. There are other places you want to visit too, right? Your expression says it all. You can't hide anything from Paimon.
Andiamo.
On to the next
Andiamo subito a capire cose. Vai alla commissione Yashiro. Che cazzo anda? Ah.
We're here! This is the Yashiro Commission's headquarters, so...
Traveler!
Oh, grande!
It's been a while.
Che cazzo sei,
If you're
te?
looking for the Commissioner and Miss Kamisato, I'm afraid your timing is
No.
unfortunate. They're not here right now.
Are they out on business?
The Commissioner is out on business, and Miss Kamisato is standing
Ha
in
una
for some
riunione
meetings in the
dal
Commissioner's
posto del
place.
Ok.
If it's urgent, you're welcome to wait inside until they get back.
What do you think? Shall we go in?
Grazie. Passiamo a fare una passeggiata nel cortile?
If it
Sì.
were anyone else, I couldn't allow it. But seeing as you're so close with the Commissioner and Miss Kamisato, I think it should be okay.
E quindi...
We'll be heading in then. Thanks!
E quindi entriamo tranquilli, tranzolli. Oh, signora, Uruta, com'è?
Dears. Is there something you want to say?
Avrei un paio di domande.
Of course, traveler. Yes, I know who you are. Miss Kamisato has told me about you.
Ok.
What would you like to know?
Come stanno il commissario e la signorina Kamisato in questi giorni?
Oh, they're both very well indeed. Lately, Miss Kamisato has been rather busy attending all kinds of meetings and occasionally paying visits to some local organizations on the Commissioner's behalf.
Yeah!
As for the Commissioner himself, well, you know, busy as ever. That much hasn't changed. Although he does seem to be in a rather good mood these days.
So pretty much business as usual on the Yashiro Commission, huh?
Very much so.
Ok. Ayata è ancora il commissario della Yashiro e Yayaka è ancora la padrona di casa, non è cambiato nulla, perfetto. Sembra che non sia cambiato niente nemmeno la commissione Yashiro. Anche se me l'aspettavo, sono comunque felice di sapere che i fratelli Kamisato sono vivi e vegeti.
Got any more questions?
No.
You're very welcome. In fact, I would love nothing more than for you to come and visit more often.
Tranquilla, nonna.
I'm sure you must be far too
Ricorda un po' la nonna di
busy to
Silvestro e
have time
Titti,
for
sta
that.
signora.
Miss Kamisato talks about you all the time. She seems so thrilled to have you as a friend, and she's always saying how talented you are and how much she admires you. I must say, many things in Inazuma seem to have taken a turn for the better since you arrived here. So you're
Il
not
cavaliere
just
nell'armatura
Miss Kamisato's
spendente.
knight
Mamma mia,
in
che
shining
bellezza.
armor, you know. You're... I mean it.
Ah, ah.
Whenever the Commissioner dines at home, Toma always joins him. I always find myself at my most relaxed when
Okay.
I'm serving the two of them and listening to them chat away. The
Oh.
Commissioner has such a busy schedule that he doesn't always have the chance to take his meals at home. They say it's because Toma's a much better chef than most. Oh, the Commissioner is so fond of home comforts.
Ok.
They get to
Ok.
talking about you sometimes too, you know. Always with a very fond tone. The way one would talk about dear old friends around whom one can truly be themselves. Miss Kamisato occasionally joins them as well. Whenever the whole family gets together,
Il migliore.
they start talking about people they've met, and it's been many years now since the late Mr. and Mrs. Kamisato passed away. As someone who is old and gray enough to have watched their son and daughter grow up, It makes me so happy to... So, in the future, if you ever do have the time, please know you are always very welcome at the Yashiro Commission.
Grazie, anche quelli del clan Kamisato sono i miei cari amici.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Here too. Also, you were saying something about the food here being really great. Paimon's itching to try it. We may just have to invite ourselves around for dinner sometime. Paimon meant we should come pay a visit again.
Of course.
Alright, goodbye for now. We're,
Tatarasuna.
Great. Goodbye, ma'am. Don't worry, we'll see ourselves out.
All right then. Take...
Tocca.
Oh.
Ah, così da soli vanno?
Yep, everything's taken care of now. Don't worry.
Very well. Safe travels.
Well, here we are. But
Ci siamo.
what are we looking for? Something or someone?
Stiamo cercando un'esperienza.
Do my eyes deceive me, or is that the traveler and Paimon?
Oh my god, it's so incredible.
Xavier, what are you doing here?
Niente, assolutamente un cazzo.
I was in the general area, and now I'm in this specific area. There, that's me. So what about you two?
Succede.
We have some questions and thought you might be able to help.
Sai qualcosa di Tatarasuna?
Certainly do. I've researched the furnace here in some depth.
Ah sì?
If there's anything
Cosa hai
you want to know,
scoperto?
just ask away.
Quanto conosci la storia di questo posto?
Like the back of my hand. Make no mistake, I have been here a good many times before.
Va bene.
Not only that, but I've met people in Inazuma whose families used to live in Tatarasuna years ago. They said it's all true, the history here.
Continua.
Oh, well, it's a long story, don't you know? The tale of Tatarasuna starts a long time ago. I'm told that its history is one of the most foremost forging and smelting operations in the nation. Goes back around 1,000 years. Still, the furnace has had a couple of serious maintenance issues along the way.
Ok.
A couple? When exactly?
One was just in the last few years, the other was several hundred years ago.
Diversi
Fun
secoli
fact,
addietro.
I'm not the first Fontaine tech guy to come and work on it either. There was a guy back then too.
Ok.
They say he was a mechanic who consulted on a technology upgrade. It seems like the technological collaboration between our two nations goes back a long way. How about that?
Oh, it's so incredible, man. Esperto di macchine, eh? Pare che il luminare abbia sabotato la fornace, facendo scaturire il caos.
Hey, weren't you gonna ask Xavier something about Tatarasuna? Come on, ask already.
La domanda fatidica.
Oh, I didn't realize you two were here for a history lesson.
In realtà no.
Me neither. Paimon doesn't know what's gotten into this one today. Feels like we've been preparing for a history exam or something.
What brought this on? Did you just wake up today with a sudden burning desire for historical knowledge?
Direi di sì, e posso farti ancora una domanda?
Sure, go ahead.
Hai mai sentito parlare di un kabuki mono collegato a Tatarasuna?
A kabuki mono? No, I can't say that I have.
Questo è un problema.
I do know the word, Inazuman, for those eccentric types who always go around dressed to the nines. Just the sort of person that I'd like to meet, actually.
Grazie.
But sadly, I've never had the pleasure, nor have I come across anything to do with a kabuki mono where Tatarasuna is concerned.
Quindi non c'è nessun kabuki mono, che il menestrello si sia effettivamente cancellato completamente dalla storia. Se è così starà cercando di cambiare il mondo e di farlo tornare come era prima, ma per il momento sembra che la maggior parte dei cambiamenti riguardi solo lui. Grazie Xavier, sei il migliore. Of go! Hello!
Oh, we're leaving? Okay, bye Xavier.
Vai, Shissi.
Oh, you're most welcome. More than happy to help.
A me no.
Farewell.
Assolutamente no.
Looks like you got all the information you're looking for.
Torniamo da Sua Eccellenza Minore Ruka Kusanali.
But what's up with you today?
In teoria nemmeno Naida dovrebbe ricordarsi di Menestrello ancora. Grazie Paimon, veramente grazie, guarda. Grazie. Sì, andiamo. Let's go. Nahida. Porco il demonio. Potresti anche fare due passi e avvicinarti, Teleporto. Costellazioni. Allora, intanto voglio... No. Sì. Obiettivi. Echi della storia e basta. Molto bene. E questo. Vai, a posto, vai. Nota bene, taglio la testa all'omino. Torna al santuario di Rusashtana.
Hey, it's them.
Sì, siamo noi. Non mi farete mica leggere ancora un'altra volta come manoscritti, vero? State ancora parlando del saggio.
Indeed we are. If you have a moment, we'd love for you to join us once more.
We have time. What do you want to talk to us about?
Narraci.
The same topic we discussed last time. Obviously.
Questo è male.
Still looking for more info about Tatarasuna, huh? Should we join them?
No. Perfetto, questi hanno fatto molte ricerche sul passato di Tatarasuna. Sentiamo cosa hanno da dire.
Unfortunately, we haven't made any real progress.
Posso leggere di nuovo? Dio di Dio.
Oh, of course.
Ipotizzando io l'abbia già letto. Così, proprio. Vedi? Ah no, meno male. Le parti diverse sono evidenziate. Quindi gran parte di queste discese riguardava gli yokai, esseri caratteristici delle storie popolari di Inazuma. Una piccola parte di queste, tuttavia, cita ripetutamente la parola straniero. È bene sapere che l'aspetto di questo personaggio, probabilmente basato su una persona reale, è un caso molto curioso. Questo particolare ha attirato l'attenzione dei ricercatori che hanno scoperto le seguenti informazioni. Una volta un esperto di macchine fece visita a Tatarasuna, pare che questo trasferimento avesse l'intento di scambiare conoscenze e rinforzare i legami con gli abitanti del posto. Tuttavia l'esperto di macchine sembrava comportarsi in modo sospetto e veniva spesso visto curiosare in aree ad accesso limitato. Se qualcuno provava a rivolgergli la parola, l'uomo rispondeva biascicando in maniera incomprensibile. L'esperto di macchine fissava a quel tempo lo scambio di conoscenze tecniche fra culture diverse non era insolito nei luoghi come Tatarasuna. Dopo aver affrontato lunghi viaggi, il fatto che degli esperti stranieri fossero benvenuti nella regione non era nemmeno poco ragionevole. Eppure il disastro sopraggiunge poco dopo questo scambio di conoscenze, il che suggerisce che possa sussistere un collegamento tra gli eventi. Tuttavia, alcuni abitanti del luogo credono che tali supposizioni non siano che il risultato della fervida immaginazione dei loro antenati nel tentativo di fornire una teoria sull'effettivo svolgimento dei fatti. Il resto dovrebbe essere uguale. L'esperto di macchine da tempo ha esaminato diversi testi e documenti, ma non sono riuscito a decifrare nemmeno il più piccolo indizio del suo passato. Eppure dopo l'incidente di Tatarasuna se ne parlò sempre meno. Credo che anziché essere un personaggio nato dall'immaginazione collettiva, l'esperto di macchine sia esistito davvero e che forse abbia persino avuto un ruolo negli eventi verificatisi a Tatarasuna. Ma questo è fenomenale! No! Però se proprio ci tieni... Miyazaki nascose il sughigno. Udite queste parole. Niwa liberò la lucertola della sua mano nel palmo di Katsuragi. Ma proprio quando ulteriori parole stavano per essere proferite, qualcuno arrivò, con il passo leggero e la sveltezza della gioventù. La testa che fece capolino sulla porta era quella di un forestiero. Il nuovo arrivato mise da parte dei cestini del pranzo, annuì e fece per andare via. Katsuragi lo richiamò indietro. Signore, il suo pasto! Non ha fame! L'uomo sorrise dopo aver sentito le parole di Katsuragi. Ho già mangiato. Spero che voi, miei signori, troviate presto il tempo di placare la vostra fame. Si serva pure, signore. Mi imbarazzo di dirla alle prese con queste faccende insignificanti, rispose Niwa con sincerità. L'uomo sorrise, come se non gli importasse, poi con un cenno del capo se ne andò. Oh menestrello te! La nuvola nera raggiunse il fondo della barca colpendola come una lancia, facendole così perdere la rotta fino a scagliarsi sulla battaglia. L'esperto di macchine si fermò una manciata di passi più in là, ridendo, avvicinandosi lentamente al grandioso relitto. Del capitano che aveva chiesto aiuto rimase soltanto la metà di un braccio che con un tonfo cadde ai piedi dell'esperto di macchine. L'uomo si accasciò per esaminarlo meglio, resistendo alla tentazione di morderlo. Dio buono. La nuvola nera inghiottì reso la barca in un ingordo vortice discendente. Basta, Dio buono. Poi fu inviata una seconda nave, seguita da una terza e da una quarta. Chiunque fosse partito alla ricerca della salvezza avrebbe dovuto affrontare cieli minacciosi e sorti avverse. Dando retta al lume e ragione, non avrebbero dovuto rischiare di perdere nessun altro, ma la situazione a Tatarasun era molto grave. Anche se avessero sacrificato altre vite, l'aiuto della città di Inazuma era una possibilità da prendere in considerazione. Questo è fondamentalmente una grande stronzata. Comunque, interessante, eh? Il contenuto è cambiato, un altro effetto della manomissione delle informazioni dell'Irminsul. Il menestrello aveva detto che avrebbe cancellato quei due nomi. È riuscito davvero o gli sarà servito tutta la forza che aveva?
Well, what do you think?
Fenomenale, 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 fenomenale.
Remember how last time Akaba was saying how he wished he could gather more information about all this? Well, we just got back from Inazuma. So how about we tell them what we learned?
Sì.
What did you find out? Something big?
It's a long story. Basically, we have some friends in Inazuma, and...
Racconta loro cosa hai scoperto sulla Raiden Kogaden.
So many new
Kogaden.
details. Thank you so much for sharing that with us.
Non c'è di che.
Well, well. So it all comes down to one man's desire for revenge. Huh. You heard this from a member of the Amenoma clan, you say? Then I guess it must be true.
Il clan Amenoma.
Ugh. So there's no ghost story here after all.
This new information actually lends further credence to my hypothesis. Evidently, swordsmiths were seen as having an incredibly prestigious role in society those days, to the extent that harming them was conceived of, at least by the perpetrator, as a way of exacting revenge against those in power.
Non è possibile.
Yes, okay, point taken, you were right. But that doesn't mean I can't carry on with my novel.
And they're back at it. These guys are really
Abbiamo delle cose di cui occuparci noi, ci sì.
Oh, so sorry. Look at us, prattling on about our projects and ignoring you. Thank you so much for the information.
You're welcome. See ya.
Keep us in the loop if you find out anything else.
Dio buono.
Will do.
Sarà mia premura. Parla con Nahida. Oh Naida, sapessi che storia. Dove sei?
Nahida, we're here.
Traveler, Paimon, how have you been?
A giro.
Ugh, where to start? Paimon hasn't had a moment's rest this whole time. That night, we ended up chatting until suddenly the sun was up. And then he decided he wanted to go to Inazuma.
Stavo indagando la situazione riguardo al menestrello. Nemmeno Naida si ricorda un cazzo. Oh no.
You look troubled. Is there something you need to tell me?
Neanche Naida ricorda, proprio come l'ultima volta. Se ci saranno dei cambiamenti nell'Irminsul, anche lei ne subirà le conseguenze. Il menestrello agitò in fretta, ha finito di cancellare ogni traccia di sé prima che Nahida glielo potesse impedire. Sono l'unica persona che ricorda ancora tutto ciò che è stato cancellato. Ancora una volta sono il custode dei ricordi.
Hey, what's wrong?
Sa chi gli ha letto la mente, forse?
Upset.
Sono accadute delle cose che riesco a ricordare solo io. Ma quindi gli dico anche della sorella, gli dice? Matto. Aia. Un tempo esisteva un individuo chiamato il Menestrello. Era la creazione dell'Archon di Elettro, venuto al mondo sotto forma di una marionetta. Dopo averne passate di cotte e di crude a Tatarasuna, il Menestrello, che credeva di essere stato tradito 3 volte, lasciò Inazuma e iniziò a girovagare. Non aveva alcuna fiducia negli umani, odiava tutte le divinità. Serbò rancore per anni e una volta divenuto più forte tornò in Inazuma per compiere la sua vendetta. Provò a diventare una divinità con l'aiuto di un'agnosi, ma alla fine i suoi sforzi furono tutti vani. Infine entrò nell'Irminsul, dove scoprì la verità del suo tradimento. Tutta la sua vita si era basata su una bugia e per cancellare quella triste tragedia compiò un gesto disperato.
That's quite a story.
Wow!
So, this puppet known as the Balladeer erased himself from Irminsul, hoping that he could change the past.
Già.
But how was he even able to do that?
As the traveler said, he very nearly became Sumeru's deity. Admittedly, I remember it a little differently. I don't recall finding anyone inside the machine after we defeated it.
Quindi potrebbe essere ancora lì la macchina. Quindi potrebbe essere che Scara sia riuscito a diventare effettivamente un dio completo stavolta.
Nevertheless, it does make sense. If someone were to successfully erase themselves from Irminsul, the world would change to reflect the new reality.
So, you believe this person really existed, and we just don't remember him because, well, because he literally changed the world?
Fortissimo.
Yes. Theoretically speaking, it is possible to do this. But I'm struggling to imagine the kind of person who would dare go through with it. The traveler comes from a world beyond to that. That's why there's no information about him in Irminsul, and it also explains why any changes to Irminsul wouldn't affect him.
Hai capito?
So if there's anyone in the world capable of retaining memories from a past that has been rewritten, it's you. It's quite incredible when you think about it.
Paimon's having a hard time understanding this Balladeer guy's motivations. Why did he do it?
Non c'è una vera motivazione.
I can only make inferences based on the information we've been given. As for what kind of person he was, only you remember that.
Non ne sono sicurissimo. Siamo sempre stati nemici dopo tutto, non so cosa avesse in mente, né perché sia arrivato a tal punto. Voleva cancellare tutto, voleva salvare qualcuno, voleva semplicemente eliminare se stesso. Tutti gli errori possono essere corretti, è giunto il momento di risolvere la questione una volta per tutte, deve aver pensato questo. Ricordo ancora la sua ultima domanda, la chiese a me specificatamente, la mia situazione gli fornì la mia risposta. Esitai perché avevo visto Sua Eccellenza Maggiore Rucca Devata cancellare la propria esistenza, ma questo non posso dirlo a Naida. Perché no? Ormai ci siamo. In altre parole, so perché il menestrello è uscito in maniera così risoluta, ma non posso dirglielo. Hai capito?
Something else worrying you? Something that you can't share?
Mi sento così vuoto. Ha compiuto un gesto talmente radicale, eppure...
It couldn't change the fate of the ones who had died, right?
Già.
Once the Balladeer realized he hadn't been betrayed after all, it must have completely changed his view of the people of Tatarasuna. Now he saw them as friends again. He couldn't keep hating humans after that. And if he thought there was a chance he could save his old friends, it would be hard not to try. This story makes sense. Every part of it. The Balladeer tried to achieve godhood with the doctor's help. He was unsuccessful, but retained the power to connect with Irminsul. That power then enabled him to change what was recorded in Irminsul and erase himself, even though he didn't have much strength left.
Hai capito?
Yeah, it does make sense, but it still ended in tragedy for his friends. It just feels so hopeless. He gave everything to do this, but it seems like he got nothing in return.
Proprio così, ha cambiato il mondo in diversi modi, ma i morti sono rimasti tali e le loro vite sfortunate non sono state salvate. Contro cosa voleva opporsi esattamente? I tradimenti che hanno segnato la sua vita o sperava di non essere mai esistito?
Please wait a moment. I want to check something.
Fammi tipare, Nahida. Vagade.
Found it. This should be the one.
Cosa?
It turns out that I have a strange way of confirming everything he has told us.
Ah sì?
What is it?
A record from a personal collection. It was tucked away in a corner.
Va bene.
You should take a look.
Che buono. Curiosamente, e che cazzo?
A fairy tale? Who wrote it?
Questo conferma tutto ciò che ho detto.
I authored this record myself.
Ah sì?
Huh? You wrote a fairy tale that somehow has something to do with the balladeer?
When combined with the traveler's narrative, it's clear that this story is an allegory. Everything in it is a symbol for something else.
Ok.
Hold on. So this record survived from the past?
Yes. Any information about the balladeer or the kabukimono and other records will have been changed. But I wrote this story in a way that means it was left intact.
Spiega come.
Changing the information in Irminsul changes to that.
Ok.
But Irminsul can't change information that was well hidden in advance. I guess I must have written this story as a backup before the balladeer entered Irminsul.
Perfetto. Ma non potevi scriverci anche di tua sorella, per esempio?
That's incredible.
O forse l'ha scritto.
And sending the traveler into Irminsul with the balladeer must have been a further precaution. I knew he'd remember everything. This story is abstract enough that it still resonates with the present information recorded in Irminsul. But if we connect all the different pieces together, the true story that emerges is the one he told us, the now erased life of the balladeer. There was once a lone monster draped in fox fur. The monster found a family of foxes, joined them, and they became friends. The monster lived with the family day and night, and everyone treated it as one of their own. Once in a while, the monster would take off its fox fur at night and lament to itself as it gazed at its reflection in the water. I am a monstrosity, yet they are too foolish to see it. I pity them. But the monster soon found solace when another came to live among the foxes who was not their kin. A kitten, carved from the wood of a white tree who had been abandoned by the humans. The kitten too wished to become a fox, but its tail was too slender and it could not grow a coat of richly colored fur. Yet when the other foxes saw this, they spoke words of comfort to the kitten. Even without a tail and fur like ours,
vedi Ganza, la volpe con l'occhiale.
one of us. Furious at this happy resolution, the monster lit a fire on the mountain.
Certo.
The terrified animals panicked as the fire spread. The only way to extinguish the flames was to make a sacrifice. A gray fox stood up and addressed the monster. It said, "You are the cleverest among us. Surely you can help us find a way to solve this." The monster smiled, led the fox toward the fire, and murdered it.
Eccoci.
The gray fox's heart was turned into a beautiful drop of water, clear, spotless, and pure. The monster gave the heart of water to the kitten, telling him, "The foxes have decided. You are the one who must be sacrificed. Take this, quench the flames, and die for your fox kin." The fire was extinguished, but the kitten lived. It left that side of the mountain and found a little bird who had a broken wing. The two promised they would spend their whole lives together, but the little bird did not have long left to live. It passed away soon after. After burying the bird, the kitten left the mountain for good.
Boia.
Never again would it cherish a single creature, nor a single blade of grass that stood on that mountain. The kitten spent the nights wandering aimlessly, gnashing its teeth at the moon. How it wished to swallow the moon and devour the moonlight. If the world could only return to darkness, then it would finally be peaceful and content. I will become the new moon, the answer to everything. Then, no one will know that there were once birds, foxes, and cats in this world. And no one can know that they were different.
Boia, lo stregato è diventato.
We solved it!
Ah sì?
I remember now. This is not just the balladeer story. It is his very own memories.
È uno dei suoi ricordi.
I made a backup so that it would be preserved no matter what happened.
In che senso?
To become a god, he was experimented on and modified countless times. It was brutal torture, and the only reason he was able to survive is that he was a puppet.
Ok.
This memory was extracted from him by the scholars. Presumably, they kept it to have something to defend themselves with. Creating a deity was just the first step. Some of them wanted to be able to control it. That's why they backed up his memory for later use. I buried it deep inside one of my own dreams, and then hid it inside an allegorical story so that it wouldn't be altered.
It's hard to believe that this person really existed, let alone that he tried to get rid of us on more than one occasion. Paimon has no memory of him at all. He completely vanished like a puff of smoke.
Più o meno.
The balladeer agreed to help me look for information about the Descenders, and although he was unsuccessful, he still helped you. Before he vanished, he confirmed an important detail. That Capiamolo was where your twin first came into this world. We still don't know how the change to Irminsul will affect the senior ranks of the Fatui, but in all likelihood, they won't even remember their own harbinger.
Non ho mai provato niente del genere. Sembra che la vita sia insignificante come una piuma.
It sounds like Paimon wouldn't like this guy a whole lot if he was still around. But still, Paimon doesn't like the way it all ended that much better.
A Paolo non va al genio neanche questo finale.
This is why wisdom alone cannot answer all our questions. We look, we see, and we comprehend, but the question still troubles us. So the answer is not everything. People yearn to find the truth and then conquer the troubles they face. When you give someone the truth, you give them a chance to choose their own destiny. To others looking on, this may seem like a pointless endeavor, but for him, the chance to act on his desire to disappear must have meant a lot.
Capisco.
Never forget that even when we walk beneath dark clouds along a road filled with suffering, the light of wisdom is always there, guiding us toward a better destination.
Yeah.
That is what you have been doing all along.
Yeah, Nahita's right. Cheer up. How about we go get something to eat? We can pick up this heavy conversation again later.
Sì, più che altro, ecco, Invece di risolvere la situazione si stanno creando più dilemmi che
Good
altro.
idea. Paimon, why don't you take him out for a walk to clear his head?
You got it! Come on, traveler! You need to get out of your head for a while. You'll feel much better after taking a walk. Let's go get a snack for one of the stalls in the Grand Bazaar.
Allora, fa un giro al Gran Bazar e pescherete le idee. Si fa parlare con Nilu?
Must be really tough being the only one who remembers.
Appunto, era meglio se Naida lo lasciava in prigione, Scara. Ma infatti non si è ancora ben capito il suo piano. Di Naida, quale fosse. Quale sia. Naida, vero villain di Genshin, dai. Scherzone. Bienvenido al bazar.
We're here! What should we eat first?
Sempre a mangiare, Paimon, eh? Ho una strana sensazione, come se mancasse qualcosa, come se stessi dimenticando qualcosa di importante.
Hey, are you gonna answer or what?
Narrami. Ma scusa, Raiden? Mi dispiace, dammi un attimo, sto ancora lavorando la cosa.
Alright, whatever you want. Well, Paimon will be right here when you figured stuff out. Then we can get something to eat.
Coraggio, cervello, ce la puoi fare, ce l'ho sul punto della lingua. C'entrava col l'Irminsul e col cancellare se stessi. Sua eccellenza maggiore Ruccadevata, conoscenza proibita, Nahida.
What is it? Have you figured it all out?
Forse. Se mi lasci concentrare, Paimon, cazzo. Ora ricordo, Sua eccellenza maggiore Ruccadevata una volta aveva detto che è impossibile cancellare se stessi, perfino per lei. Altrimenti perché avrebbe creato la propria reincarnazione, Sua eccellenza minore Kusanali, per eliminarla al posto suo? Non avrebbe avuto senso. Quindi è sempre vivo, menestrello vagabondo Scara o come cazzo si chiama. È impossibile per menestrello eliminare se stesso completamente. Allora cosa succede se non è stato completamente cancellato?
Excuse me, boss. There seems to be a small problem with the last bill. Look, here.
Bah. Chi c'è? Però lui si ricorda di noi? Capo, sembra che ci sia un piccolo guarda qua.
Hey! Hey, wait!
You mean me?
No, not you. That kid. Didn't you see? Little rascal grabbed my last two fresh
No,
senseias and ran
maledetto.
off.
Maledetto.
Look, if you're gonna help out here, you can't keep spacing out, okay? What is it? The work's too boring for you?
E però non trattarlo
Or has the big
male.
city got too many distractions?
Cioè, ogni volta che si reincarna viene trattato a merda, poveraccio.
Close enough attention. Sorry, boss. I think you're right. Maybe it's the city. It's so exciting. It can be hard to focus.
Who's that guy? You know him or something?
Quel tizio è il menestrello.
He's who?
Già.
You're a strange one, kiddo. You say you don't want any money for helping out here, and then when I actually give you some work to do, you keep letting yourself get distracted. I don't want to take advantage, so I'm happy to pay you what I'd pay anyone else. But if you keep acting like this, pretty soon I won't be able to afford to.
È che dove sta scritto che questo è un mio problema?
No, please. I mean it. You don't need to pay me anything. I'm just so thankful you agreed to take on an outsider like me.
You're welcome, I guess. But I got
In
bigger things to worry
testa.
about.
Tremenda,
Look,
Pera,
we're all
tremenda.
out of Sensetias. And I promised the lady down the street I'd deliver a fruit bowl this evening.
Leave it to me. I'll find some more. Just a moment. I'll be right back.
Yeah.
Stop. I'm gonna level with you, kiddo. I've never met a worker who said they didn't want a wage before. And at first, I got greedy. Couldn't believe my luck. But I figured you'd start asking for something in return eventually. You don't want money. You don't take days off. And in your free time, all I see you do is wander around, taking in the sights. Are you a drifter or something?
That's right, I am. We can talk more about that later.
Vagabondo a caso si è diventato.
Sunsetius, was it? I'll be right back.
Hey, what do we do now?
Perseguiamolo.
Okay, stay out of sight. Don't let him see you.
No, no. Allora, che cazzo è? Sì, che persona appena visto. È già arrivato a Monculi, è già arrivato. Anche se secondo me sa che lo stiamo pedinando. Dio.
Yeah, this'll do.
Ah.
Even though you say he's
Yeah.
the balladeer, what are we planning on doing? Stealing his Sunsetius? Isn't that a bit too cruel?
Ma veramente...
This should be enough. Guess I should wash them before I take them back.
Se non lo stessi vedendo con i miei occhi non ci crederei. In effetti dallo stronzo, guerrafondaio, pieno di odio, rancore, rabbia, frustrazione, ira e che altro, è diventato quasi una persona simpatica.
You two over there. Is there something I can help you with?
He spotted us!
You've been following me all the way from the city. I'd have to be blind not to notice.
Ha ragione, ti stavamo seguendo.
Have we met before?
Ma com'è però che lui non si ricorda? Cioè, viaggiando nel tempo lui si è dimenticato comunque tutto l'ha vissuto?
No, we haven't met. But you know me?
O è tornato a prima che diventasse marionetta e quindi non ha ancora i ricordi?
I have no recollection.
Un tempo eri un dio.
Are you absolutely sure?
Sorry, but I just can't take your word for it.
Non posso crederci sulla parola. Posso provarlo. Sei una marionetta. Ah, così? Bello, bella presentazione.
A puppet? What makes you think that?
Ora fallo un cazzo un'altra volta, viaggiatore.
Huh?
You were right. The look on his face.
Aia.
I guess you do know me after all. That is not something I share with a lot of people. Look, I'm just a wanderer. But seeing as you've gone through all this trouble to track me down, I'm sure whatever it is must be important.
C'è un posto dove vorrei portarti.
Okay, but please let me deliver these goods to my boss first.
Are you really working for that guy? He said you don't want any more for it. Is that true?
Grande Scara, il migliore.
Yes, I ran into him out in the wilderness during a storm, and he let me take shelter in his cart. In return, I said I'd be his helper for a while.
That's oddly nice of you.
Let me take these back. Then I'll come with you, okay?
Va bene.
Then let's return to the city.
Vai. Torna alla banca alimentare. Io faccio un teleporto perché di farmela a piedi non c'ho una sega voglia. Allora, vieni via. Ma non mi ha aperto l'aquilone. Non ho parole, veramente. Non mi ha aperto l'aquilone. Non mi ha aperto l'aquilone, sto troiaio.
Here you go, boss. I'll leave them right here.
Vai, lascio via, eh? Dove non si sa, visto che non vende Sansetti a sto mino, però.
Oh, you really went and picked some more. Who are these two?
Boh, due barbone ho trovato al giro.
Something's come up, and they need to borrow me. Sorry, boss. I'm afraid I'll be away from the stall for a while.
Ah.
I was just about to pay you anyway. Go wherever you want, kid. Don't waste your time here.
Ah.
What?
I get it, okay? You just wanted to help me out, to thank me for giving you shelter from the rain that day. Even then, I don't understand why you're so adamant that you don't want any pay for it.
Boia, grande vagabondo, fa volontariato, mi raccomando.
It was pouring down, and there you were, sauntering along without a care in the world, like you had nowhere to be and didn't even care that it was raining.
Okay.
Imagine you and me for a second. It's a little weird, right? Why is this guy traveling during a rainstorm if he's not trying to get somewhere? And why is he taking a shortcut through the open country if he's not even in a hurry?
Perché fondamentalmente non sa dove cazzo andare.
But anyway, taking you in didn't put me out even slightly. You don't owe me a thing for it. Certainly not all this. Your time is valuable. You know, you should go live your life.
But I don't... No, you're right. Then I suppose this is where we say goodbye. Thank you again for taking me into the city.
Beh, sono qui apposta.
Don't mention it, kiddo. I've run into all kinds of characters over the years. I just hope you find your path.
Thank you. All right, done. Thanks for waiting for me.
Tocca, via. Allora, torna al santuario di Rusashtana. Oh, Naida, ho trovato scaldabagno. E adesso è blu, non è più viola. Nahida!
What's wrong?
E Nahida stava a fare il solitario, tipo da brava dipendente comunale.
Hello. I do apologize for the sudden intrusion.
We found this guy in the street, but he doesn't seem to remember anything. So, yeah, quite an eventful walk.
Racconti a sua eccellenza minore tutto quanto.
You say that you're trekking across to Vat to train yourself. Many other Inazumans who describe themselves in this way call themselves Shugenja. Why do you
Asceti di montagna non è più bello che vagabondo.
Well, it seems more relevant in my case. To me, it sounds like a plant with no roots.
Ma una pianta senza radici non può vivere. Pensaci.
But these two claim that they know me, and that I have a hidden past unknown even to myself.
I wouldn't call it the past, but rather... this is a difficult one to explain. I don't like to rely on using terms like this often, but in your case, it seems that it ought to be called, previous incarnation.
Ah.
Oh, like a past life or something?
Yes. Something far more distant than the past. So far away that you cannot perceive it.
Okay, I have to ask. What was I like in my previous incarnation?
Simpaticissimo.
Oh, okay. I see. You want to tell me, but you can't bring yourselves to say it. Looks like I didn't have the most wonderful existence in my previous incarnation.
Stiamo solo pensando da dove cominciare.
If it's that difficult to talk about, I have no doubt it will be just as difficult to hear. But I'll be able to handle it. Please, tell me the truth.
Non è che adesso gli diciamo le cose, lui si ricorda non si sa per quale magia o reazione a caso e ridiventa stronzo, vero?
Is truth something you care a lot about?
Yes.
Then I'll be straight with you. In your previous incarnation, you did many things that would be considered evil. You nearly died because of what other people did, and many died because of you. As a non-human being, you hated gods and humans alike. You drifted from place to place, never able to settle, even where you found status and identity. You adamantly believed that you were missing a heart.
Hai capito? Cazzo!
Actions rooted in persistence sometimes bear bitter fruit. Sometimes, you have to let parts of yourself go, or
Nahida racconta al vagabondo del suo passato.
I gave everything I had, but it barely changed history at all.
In terms of the outcome alone, that's true.
I don't think I can judge everything I've heard purely in terms of right and wrong. Each choice a person makes belongs to a specific place and time, a chain of cause and effect, a cycle of karma and consequence.
That is the nature of truth. If one thing is right, its opposite must be wrong. And yet, dichotomies like this are not enough to explain the world in all of its complexity.
It seems like my previous incarnation wasn't the most likable individual.
We're not trying to hurt your feelings or anything, but yeah,
Eravamo nemici, si può dire? Era uno stronzo, si può dire? C'è nel dizionario, è un termine.
If we were enemies, why are you trying to help me find the truth?
This is so frustrating! This guy's supposed to be our arch enemy, but now he's just some random stranger we met on the street!
Va bene.
He's got so much to answer for, but we can't make him talk because he doesn't remember anything. What a weird situation.
Bislacca.
Lesser Lord Kusanali, as the god of wisdom, I trust that everything you told me must be true.
Yes, it's all true. I can even show you the memories themselves, if you're willing.
Please.
Ah sì?
I want to see them for myself. I want to
Narrami, Kusanali, narrami. Non essere induciosa.
Even though it will cause your present self great mental anguish?
I'm just a puppet, with no heart and no name. There is nothing in this world for me to cling to fill the void within me. Except maybe these sins that can never be undone.
Madonna de però.
Very well. As you wish.
Wait, shouldn't we go with him? This one's kind of on us for bringing him here.
Don't worry. Whatever danger I might face, it's my burden to bear.
Traveler, could I ask you to supervise him on my behalf?
Non so qua.
Oh, good point. Given your, unique situation, we'd better keep an eye on
E se
you.
questo in realtà non fosse solamente un piano in cui lui finge di dimenticarsi tutto quanto, entra lì dentro e non so come ritorna a essere lo stronzo che conosciamo? Fantastico.
Understood.
Thank you. Now, prepare yourselves, everyone.
Deriva reminiscente. Andiamo via. Quando Scara cade a pezzi, si reincarna in altri aspetti.
This looks like Inazuma.
Right now, you're in a dream I created using information extracted from your memories. These memories will show you the raw truth, but be aware that enemies may react just like in the real world. Please be careful.
Ok.
Sounds like an immersive experience. It's a good thing we came along.
You don't need to do this for me. I don't deserve your protection.
We never give up halfway. Well, we had to once, but that was your doing.
Già.
All right. Thanks.
Wanderer, this is the Shake Pavilion. In your Balladeer incarnation, this is where the Electro Archon placed you after your creation. You had a great many memories here.
Is that because this is kind of like his birthplace?
You could say that, in a sense. You'll see why shortly.
I hear footsteps.
This place is huge. I can't believe the landslide didn't fill it in. I wonder who built it. The Crystal Marrow Miners?
I minatori in cerca di midollo cristallino.
No, there's no way.
Che ancora non ho capito cosa sia.
Exquisite construction work, and so well preserved too. No mining crew would be capable of this. There's someone passed out on the ground.
Who are you?
Ah, Baby Menestrello?
You're awake. What happened? How'd you get stuck here? Are you injured? Not a scratch. And these fine clothes.
This man is Katsuragi, deputy to Torichio's adopted son,
Okay.
Mikoshi Nagamasa. He found the Balladeer in Shake Pavilion and took him back to Tatarasuna.
And the rest is history. Well, it used to be.
In the original version of events, Katsuragi was ultimately killed by Nagamasa.
Let me get you out of here. Our people are nearby. Hang in there.
During the Tatarasuna incident, Niwa was murdered by the doctor disguised as a mechanic. The Balladeer, then known as the Kabukimono, disappeared not long after.
Va bene.
As the second in command at Tatarasuna, responsibility for what had happened fell to Mikoshi Nagamasa.
Ok.
But Katsuragi had sworn lifelong loyalty to Nagamasa after the latter had once saved his life. At Katsuragi's insistence, Nagamasa killed him to put an end to the Tatarasuna incident.
Cribio.
Katsuragi seems like he was a good guy.
Prosegui l'esplorazione. Dove si va?
But he has a kind face. Why couldn't he live a long and happy life?
Ah, ok, piano. È messo. Si pole.
Nagamasa, I found this young guy in a cave sealed off by a landslide. He doesn't remember his name.
No, no, perché ho fatto la
We
ulti?
need to call you something. I hear the workers are calling you the Kabuki
Non devo andare di qua. Dove cazzo devo andare? Aspetta un attimo.
Katsuragi, report to Niwa. Tell
Mi
him
devo
we have someone
muovere.
here joining us.
Non è possibile. Devo salire. Dove cazzo devo andare? Perché è morto tipo Resor? Curiamo Resor un attimo allora. Devo andare qua su. Sì. No. Sì. No. Dove cazzo devo... Ah, un forziero, attenzione, Scusate, non è che sapreste dirmi da che parte devo andare. No, Oh, qui c'è un forziero. Dove cazzo devo andare? Dio boia. Ok. Bene. Ok.
What are we doing back here?
Sento delle voci.
Whoa, this is where you were born? It's pretty, but there's nobody here.
Aia, Covid.
I was abandoned, like you. I lived here for a while at first, but there's nothing for us here. We can't stay.
Okay. I heard my mom and dad used to make swords, but the factory manager died, and then my dad got sick. He kept coughing all the time, just like me. Then Mom started...
But you can't. You promised me.
Yep, we're family now. We're gonna be together forever and ever. This child didn't have a name. Or rather, the balladeer didn't know what to call him. His father died before he could name him. After his mother died, the child stayed in their straw hut alone. Some of the neighbors helped to raise him. After leaving Tatarasuna, the balladeer ran into this child who didn't have a name, just like him. They made a promise to live together.
What happened to the child then?
Un casino.
He died from his illness while he was still very young. The balladeer came home one day and found that he had stopped breathing.
Eccoci.
Hey! What's wrong? Say something!
Boia.
You promised me we could be family! You're no different from Niwa and all the others. You betrayed me too.
Non è proprio così. È morto, non ti ha tradito.
The voices have gone. It looks like the memory ends here.
Let's keep going.
Ma sì, dammi. Creiamo un trauma inesistente, amplificandolo. Eh sì.
You do realize you're blocking my path.
Porco il demonio.
I come not to obstruct you. I've been waiting. What you are truly is
Dio madonna.
one that could be wielded.
Mi fai la fioritura? Madonna, io devo capire con quale criterio fa la fioritura e quando no. Se anche sono duro però,
A long-fated rebellion has begun. Why not take your place at the banquet and join those who shall feast?
Dio madonna. Ah, ok, l'altro è morto. Va bene, via. La tua mamma. Santissima donna. Ma sapessi. Dio di Dio. Porco il demonio. E poi ti ci stempio, E ce la faccio a stempiarti, Vai. No, non ce lo crede. Dio boia. Sempre simpatici tizi col martello, proprio esilaranti. Boia mondo. Da ma se te lo stronzo lo recupera e lo recura. Oh, boia mondo. Dammi la patata, stronzo.
This place is dark.
Già.
Paimon knows this place. It's the delusion factory in Inazuma.
Ah, sì?
In the original version of events, the traveler once encountered the balladeer here.
Such a creepy atmosphere.
Giusto.
And so familiar.
Ricordo questo posto, un luogo davvero sgradevole.
Hey, look over there.
Well, well, my fair lady. Is this rundown factory
Carissima.
competent fools all for me?
Quanto tempo.
Wow. You shouldn't have.
Huh. What do you have to gain from belittling your subordinates? You might not want to admit it, but you are a part of this plan. Perhaps you find fighting in the abyss to be a more meaningful use of your time? Oh, but of course, even this pales in comparison to being experimented on by the doctor.
What a sharp tongue you have. Funny how negotiating never seems to be your strong suit. For the task ahead, I suggest you keep your true feelings to yourself.
Ok.
Save your breath. I know what I have to
incredibile.
do.
I'm sure you think so, but I still think you need to hear it. Don't start thinking you're invincible, and don't let your emotions get in the way.
Surely you're not
Ci ho
worried
fatto la
about
sora che
me.
c'ha tipo sta giochini e vendono i mercatini, quelli magnetici e vanno perenni.
I just can't have
Sul
you getting in
groppone
my
ce l'ha
way.
la signora.
You and Child never fail to find
Sulla
ways to
spalla.
complicate things.
I'm merely lighting a little fire in this chaotic nation. But you, being tossed out like trash, must make you want to destroy it completely.
Non è possibile.
Do you remember the last time you were here? That was a lot of swordsmiths you killed. I'm sure the descendants of the Raiden Gokaden are still suffering the consequences now. Look at you. Oh, don't get so sentimental. Now, give that poor little tongue of yours a rest and stop pretending like you're above everyone else. Bye then. See you at the victory feast.
Se non fosse bene deflagrata male da Raiden.
Poor little tongue? She's playing with fire talking to me like that. Who does she think she is? Forget it. Someone might find me here any minute now. I should prepare to give them a warm welcome.
The plot does not end here. There is more of this story to come. Wanderer, are you able to continue?
Yes. Please don't worry about me.
Why are you staring at me in silence?
Madonna, anche queste mi sono
Can't you
simpatiche.
think of a nicer way to express yourself?
I'm under no obligation to be nice to you. Besides, I thought nothing mattered to you except results and your own interests. Isn't that right, witch?
Muddle-headed puppet. You're only number 6 because you can
Yeah,
take
sure.
more abuse than other humans. Do you really count that as an asset?
You're about
Spam,
as much fun to be around as
spam,
raging
spam,
and
spam,
fun. Before
spam.
we murder each other, it'd be best if we
Hai rotto il
finish our
cazzo?
duties.
No, lo stronzolo no, lui vi tirare giù subito, ma scherzi, lui è pericoloso, Veramente pericoloso. No, pezzo di stronzo, vedi, lo sai dicevo è pericoloso.
Let's dance.
Via, facciamo così, corriamo tutto quanti, curiamo. Dai, tiralo giù, ti prego, tiralo giù, tiralo giù, tiralo giù, devi tirarlo giù. Maremma maiala. Improperia, fai la ulti. Brava. Quindi si fa così, si fa un po' di così, si continua a pestare. E dai, vai giù, Dio di Dio, vai giù, vai giù. Non ci voglio credere, cioè, raso, duri quanto un gatto in tangenziale duri, Maremma maiala. La Violet tira giù pure, oh, grande! Shine a sega. No, non posso farlo qui, giusto? Vacca boia.
Looks like we've arrived in Sumeru.
Sì.
Is that?
Considering that Amorta's sage Nafis
Ricercatore dell'H. Lui mi è nuovo,
I'll take
però.
part in the experiment in his place.
Nafis, il saggio della Murta.
Welcome. I look forward to a fruitful collaboration.
Tutti ci siamo proprio.
You seem impatient. You should know that
Questo è come si sono organizzati per poi fare tutto il piano malefico incredibile. Wow.
The biological transformation is a lengthy process. As such, I too would recommend that we commence as soon as possible. In the event
Capisco.
that a successful connection is established, his body will become permanently bound to the machine, and he will...
Nothing worse than what I've been through before then, Doctor.
You were the most resilient test subject I ever came across. Thanks to you, I was able to garner a great deal of information. Alas, after that, you were under orders to remain in the abyss. We barely saw each other, and it became difficult to further refine the knowledge I had gained.
That was gracefully worded. Ever wonder what they think if they knew that nothing matters to you, apart from your crazy experiments?
I suggest you speak to me in a more respectful tone, Scaramouche. The mere fact of your utility does not make you indestructible.
The doctor again?
Indestructible!
That was uncomfortable to watch.
That person gives off a very sinister energy.
Illuminare, è lui la causa di tutto ciò.
It's normal for him.
È lui che decide che va via e che rimane.
Scares the bejeebers out of Paimon.
Let's move on.
Sta iniziando, secondo me, a percepire qualcosa, il buono Scara.
You're a god. Do you think I'm evil?
If you accept that he is you, just as you are you, then yes, you are evil.
È così che la metti, Naida, Non è che gli dici no, non è vero, non sei malvagio.
In your eyes, are there any differences between humans and puppets?
Do you think there are any differences between your present self and your previous and future incarnations? If not, then what are the differences between humans and puppets?
Narraci, Scara.
Whoever has tasted the joys and sorrows of life in the human realm is human. Whoever has loved and lost, cried with grief, howled with rage at the tragedy of death that eclipses the miracle of life, they are human too.
I've seen enough of my past. If possible, I'd like to reclaim the sins that are mine to bear. No matter the consequences, I won't run from blame or punishment. Whatever I am due, let it come to pass.
In che senso?
Can you return my memories to me?
Eccoci.
Huh? But won't that mean you'll lose your current identity?
E diventeresti un grandissimo bastardo? Stronzo di merda?
With each person being a collection of past experiences. As a puppet living in a human world, my life is subject to the same rules.
Regaining your memories means reverting completely to your previous incarnation. All the emotions that you discarded will return to you.
Wow.
Are you sure you want to do this?
Ma scusa, va bene.
I've lived with the void in my chest my whole life. My creator didn't need me. And ever since I awoke, I've just drifted from one place to the next. But then I met you. And I finally realized that reclaiming my missing sins might be my one opportunity to become my true self.
Questo è il vero significato delle parole di Sua Eccellenza Maggiore Ruccadevata. È impossibile cancellare se stessi, anche se il menestrello originale è stato cancellato, questa persona continuerà a vivere. I peccati di una persona sono una parte ineluttabile del loro destino.
I've always felt I have an innate tendency to yearn for something more, in a way that goes deeper than for most people. But for all my soul searching as a Shugenja, I've never fully understood it. Looking at it now, it seems that I brought this curse upon myself.
Vedrai.
So I beg you, grant me this opportunity to gain a purpose, to change my destiny, and end my wandering.
Very well. Since your mind is made up, I will return to you that which is yours.
E Naida non fa domande, tranquilla. Sì, sì, vai, torna a essere lo stronzo di merda. E niente.
You have made your decision. Now, take this.
Vai.
Set him free.
A puppet? What's he doing here? You're a human as far as I'm concerned.
Everyone's here. Wonderful.
Ah già, c'è Morgan.
What a fine blade. Nagamasa will be thrilled.
This is my...
Ah! Sembra che l'abbia preso nel... però... certo! Spiega come. Fortissimo.
All worthless dross will be purged. That's why this won't be the end.
Sì, infatti sto chiedendo, infatti ho detto appunto, spiega come è possibile questa cosa. Ah, hai capito?
This is trying my patience.
Have you got all your memories back now?
Have you got any more stupid questions?
Insignificant past.
Io basta faccio così, tanto voglio dire. Fa da solo.
The wind rises.
No, ho sbagliato. Sconfigge l'avversario, ma non mi sembra così difficile per ora. Insomma, però, sono un po' stronzolo, però.
You shall fall.
No, ogni volta sbaglio. Devo usare X e no cosa per farlo andare più in alto.
Insignificant past.
Follow me.
Vedrai.
The wind rises. How amusing.
La mamma del maiale, la gran maiala. No. Cosa c'è per il culo questo? Vai. Ancora sta musica incredibile. Madonna, è pelo il fatto.
Behold, feeble human.
E falli l'ulti, vai. Sbam. Fatemi il cazzo le vecchie, però.
The wind rises.
Vai. A meno che ora non diventi robottone completo e tutte cose.
Imbecile! Get out of my sight.
It disappeared. Did we win?
Mm-hmm.
What did you expect? I'd never lose to that.
There's the tone of voice again. You're definitely back to your old self.
Sì, ma com'è che Paimon ora si ricorda?
Wait, but it was you inside that thing too. What have you got to be smug about?
Sorry. I'm harsh on myself and everyone else. Just the way I am.
Il passato ti presenta il conto.
You sound like you're concerned about me. But don't worry. Thanks to you, even if I didn't change a thing, at least I now know the truth.
E che culo!
The memory recovery seems to have been a success. This dream has served its purpose.
Ok.
Come on. Let's continue this outside.
Sono o non sono io? È un'ottima domanda questa. Madonna, che grattata ha tirato.
Welcome back, traveler. Paimon, Balladeer.
It feels like we just went on a really long journey. Paimon's exhausted.
You don't like being addressed by that name?
It's fine. But I was just thinking, I should probably change it.
Non userai più il nome menestrello, no, da ora sarò il vagabondo.
There's no way I can carry on using a name connected to him.
Yeah.
I'm not planning on returning to the Fatui, and they wouldn't take me back anyway. Recent events will have affected a lot of people, and they might not even remember who the sixth is.
Ah, quindi ha voluto cancellare la sua esistenza a tutti gli altri, ma mantenere vivo il suo ricordo. Un piano machiavellico ma efficace.
So, you're quitting the Fatui for good?
Chiamiamola una ritirata tattica.
It's like you said, Lesser Lord Kusanali. Everything may look futile, but it wasn't completely meaningless.
Ah, hai
At
capito?
least I made a lot of people forget about me.
But that doesn't mean your own past has disappeared.
Of course.
And your main goal, for which you gave up everything you had, you weren't able to achieve it. I hope you can see and understand that. Changing the world, changing the past, changing the fates of other people, these are not simple things to accomplish.
No.
What you were looking for is complete annihilation. But this is just a fantasy. Even if the Balladeer is removed from existence, the world will not heed your will.
Madonna.
Indeed. How ridiculous.
Ridiculous.
Do you regret doing all that when you've gotten so little in return?
Even if I'm completely
It's so
worthless,
ridiculous, so?
there's nothing in the world worth regretting. Lesser Lord Kusanali, you purposely left that information in Irminsul, didn't you?
Già.
Yes, and I took pains to make sure that you'd acquire that information naturally.
Ok.
Why would you go to such lengths? You trying to win me over too?
In all honesty, your past experiences have made you a useful asset to Sumeru and to me. Winning you over was indeed a part of my plan.
Quindi era tutto il piano di Naida questo, fin dall'inizio? Un genio del male.
But before that, I wanted to tell you the truth about your past. If all I wanted to do was use you, then I'd be no different from the doctor.
Vedrai.
Very clever.
I guess you could say that's one of my virtues.
Utility to others is what gives me worth. So if embracing my sins is what it takes to make me useful again, so be it.
Veramente non è proprio questo che pensa Naida, però...
Oh right, I almost forgot. You're the good guys. You're into justice and all that. Sorry if I have a slightly different perspective on things, but I don't feel like I've been duped. The wisest leaders are fated to end up with the best helpers. I can live with that.
I'm glad you're able to think of it in that way. Traveler, in the future, I'll continue to search Irminsul more deeply and see what secrets can be uncovered.
Va bene.
Including the beginning of your twins' journey recorded in Irminsul. What exactly happened before and after that point? I want to know as well.
Grazie Naida, mi fa molto piacere questo.
I will try.
Traveler.
Dimmi.
After I dove into the information torrent in Irminsul, why did you go to Inazuma?
Perché volevo sapere cos'è cambiato.
So that's how you found out whose fate had changed. And how. Well, whatever your reasons, you did me a favor. And I'll do everything I can to pay it back.
Non l'ho fatto solo per ricevere una ricompensa, non far sembrare che ti stia costringendo. Bravo, mettiamoci sulla difensiva.
Borrowing and returning are the only real relationships between individuals. I'll balance the books one day. Don't you worry.
Madonna, internet.
That's not true. A relationship between two people is not simply a ledger that can be reset to zero.
Ah no?
I think deep down you realize this. People who show up in your life don't just evaporate like water drops and leave nothing behind. There is no such thing as balancing the books. Some things in this world can never be brought back, and they can never be changed, which is why there is emotion in the human world. Everything that you feel is real and lasting, and whatever is missing in you will not be made whole. To be human is to live with imperfections. You can choose whether or not you want to be human.
Ok.
But humans can't live without a heart, can they? Anyway, I gave up trying to become a human a long time ago.
You understand what pain is perfectly well, even without a heart. You're just bearing your feelings. The past is set in stone, but you can keep moving on. And the longer your future lasts, the shorter your past will become, until one day, it is but a tiny fraction of your life.
Sounds like you've got a future planned out for me.
Spero che tu possa dare una chance a Naida.
Everything's ended up being pretty darn complicated. Paimon doesn't even know where to start, but the most important thing now is that you need to follow Nahida. Otherwise, all our efforts will have been for nothing.
Già. Niente, via, è recuperabile.
Then I guess I'll be helping you from behind the scenes from now on.
Meno male.
I'm glad that you've accepted our proposal. Why don't you choose a new name to celebrate?
Oh! Paimon wants to pick an ugly nickname for you too.
Ma perché?
Why?
Because Paimon still doesn't like you that much.
Then I hope we don't see much of each other in the future.
A name is life's first gift. You didn't say it out loud, but I know that's what you're thinking. The Traveler and Paimon have helped you a lot. If you can't decide on a new name, maybe you can ask them for ideas.
Vorresti che fossimo noi a decidere.
No, Paimon only does nicknames. If it's a serious name you're after, it's all yours.
Vagabondo. Mi sembra abbastanza ovvio. Regole avvertenze sul cambio nome. Regole per il cambio nome. Puoi ottenere un oggetto chiamato tratto di appellazione dalla missione dell'Archon, INTERLUDIO, Inversione della Genesi, che ti permetterà di cambiare il nome di Vagabondo eternamente perduto a Nemo. Ricorda che alcuni nomi non possono essere utilizzati per il cambio. Una volta che avrai eliminato questo personaggio, alcune interfacce di gioco mostreranno i nomi da te scelto. Il numero di cambi disponibili è limitato, perciò pensaci bene. Addirittura. Avvertenza. Viaggiatore, assicurati di rispettare i nostri termini di servizio durante l'uso della sera interrera al fine di creare un ambiente di gioco sano per tutti. Legge che conferma che non istigherà ma discriminatorio? No, non voglio fare nulla di tutto questo. Modifica nome. Come lo chiamiamo? Mi sembra più che appropriato. Zia Pera, cosa ne pensi? Sempre che ci sia ancora Zia Pera. Mi sembra... Ma forse potrei anche lasciarlo vagabondo, eh? O qualcosa che gli somigli comunque. No, lasciamolo in vagabondo, vai. Vagabondo, vagabondo. Vagabondo. Lo chiamerò vagabondo. Tanto poi li si può cambiare a quanto pare. Sì. Sì, va benissimo.
Oh, all right. If you say so.
There. Now you have a name of your own.
What about a nickname? Are you done yet?
Pure.
Still thinking. Stop rushing me.
Take your time. I don't need to see you again until you've thought of one.
Adesso cosa pensi di fare, vagabondo?
Everyone who manipulated me and made me suffer will have to pay the price.
You mean the Fatui?
The doctor, at least.
Now that your stance has changed, I believe your future path will change accordingly. But it won't be immediate. You still need some time to compose
Comunque Naida ha miglior mental coach e psicologa del mondo, è incredibile.
One more thing. There are still some descendants of the Raiden Gokuden living in Inazuma. Some of them know. Well, they ought to know about the connection between Raiden Gokuden and myself. I don't plan to leave Sumeru for the time being. If you see them in Inazuma, please tell them that I was the one responsible for the Raiden Gokuden's downfall.
Va bene.
Even though the events have been erased from the world, they still deserve to know the truth.
I see. That is up to you.
Huh? But if we do that, then...
It's fine. Let them stab their blades into my chest if they so desire. Maybe that's how it always should have been.
Quindi, cioè, assimilando i ricordi non ha assunto la sua personalità, ma è stata come una presa di coscienza di quanto è accaduto. Cioè, ha capito le stronzate che ha fatto.
What's that look for? Don't make that face. I know what I'm doing.
Grande Scara.
That day will come. All right. We're done here. Goodbye, wise deity. And you too.
He's gone.
Già.
What he went through today would have been like living an entire lifetime in an instant. He'll need some time to calm down.
Yeah, true. But even so, after everything that's happened, he doesn't seem quite as fierce anymore.
Ci sono stati piccoli intoppi, ma tutto è bene quel che finisce bene.
So we can finally go eat? Paimon is starving.
Che altro finalmente si è finita tutta quanta l'epopea.
Thank you both. I hope you will find somewhere nice to go and relax for a while.
Ok. Dammi gioie! Dammi gioie! Give me a joys, man! Ancora loro.
I've got it! I can end my novel with some words from Mikoshi Nagamasa.
You mean because everyone else in the story is dead?
Yeah, I heard that Mikoshi Nagamasa died at a ripe old age. He's the perfect fit to be the narrator of the epilogue. The dark clouds had dissipated, but they continued to cast their shadow in Mikoshi Nagamasa's mind for decades to come. Then, one night, as an old man, he had a dream. On the night when that prized blade, the Daitatara Nagamasa, was forged, the people rejoiced, and there was painting, dancing, and drinking.
Ha rotto il cazzongo.
All these expressions of joy melted down in the furnace fire and turned into red clouds that rallied around the final sunrise that Mikoshi Nagamasa saw in his lifetime. Life is a story too long to be told, a journey that you must walk to behold.
Va bene. Ritorna all'alloggio. L'alloggio che ha? Vuoi usare la filone? Grazie! Dove cazzo devo andare in tutto questo? Non lo so. L'alloggio di chi, scusate, Ah, l'alloggio nostro. Elementale. Elementare, che elementale?
It's about time we had a break.
Maremma laggata.
As soon as you stop, all the tiredness and hunger comes rushing back.
Riposa, Paimon.
Wow, great!
Ti cucinerò per bene, Paimon. No. Povera Paimon.
Look at that vase.
Cosa di speciale? L'hai rotto te quel vaso.
Did someone break it while they were cleaning the room or something? But Paimon doesn't remember there being
L'hai
a cleaner.
rotto te. Quella notte Paimon svoltò contro il tavolo per essere stata spaventata da qualcosa che aveva a che fare con il menestrello e ha rotto il vaso. Ma il menestrello ha cancellato la propria esistenza, ha cambiato il mondo e allora perché questa tazza è ancora rotta?
You sound lost and
Eccoci.
confused.
Eccoci.
I know why you are troubled. Any who knew of this would find their mind overwhelmed.
Che cazzo sei te?
Huh? Is there someone here talking to us?
Unfortunately, the fate of Teyvat cannot easily be changed. Perhaps a god may have a slim chance, but for anyone else, who can say? When a small animal runs into a tree trunk, though the tree may sway, it is not displaced. The same is true of fate.
È un'immagine alquanto interessante.
Like a vase that falls to the ground. Whether it is broken by a cat or by a bird, the result is still a broken vase, is it not?
Who are you? How do you know about all this?
History does not change easily, but human hearts can. Believe your own eyes. Only that which you see is true. What is unseen is but an illusion.
Ok. Ma la domanda è... Chi cazzo sei te? Ora appena si ristabilizza un attimo, vai.
The voice has disappeared. And who the heck was that? And what were they doing coming out of nowhere and saying all that scary stuff?
Non sembrava comunque una voce amica. Perlomeno una voce neutrale, ma non amica. Credere ai miei occhi significa che dovrei fidarmi dei miei ricordi.
Anyway, that face is still lying there broken on the ground. Should Paimon go get someone to clean it up?
No.
It feels wrong just leaving it there. Just a moment. Paimon will be right back.
Vai. Chissà cosa mi aspetta in futuro. Sicuramente il fatto che abbia finito tutto quanto.